Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has Black Lightning part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Stupid villagers, why can't they see past their hatred for Kurama and accept me? Asked 6-year-old Naruto aloud and to no one in particular. He was currently walking around in the forest that surrounded Konoha no Sato. He had just barely escaped from an angry mob that had tried to kill him, again. His black t-shirt was ripped and cut in numerous places, almost to the point where it was barely staying on his small, malnourished body. His white shorts were hardly in any better state. If an outsider were to see him, they would think he had just barely escaped death at the hands of a wild beast, and they wouldn't be too far off. Just forget those stupid villagers, kid. They're not worth your time. Anyone who would harm a child like that doesn't deserve the right to live, and they call me a demon, came the demonic voice of Naruto's one and only friend and ally. He had met his tenant for the first time after almost dying at the hands of the idiotic villagers. It was then that Kurama had told the 4-year-old Naruto he was hated because of him being sealed inside of him, and explaining why he had attacked, and why he was chosen to be his new container. At first Naruto was angry with what his father, the 4th Hokage, had done, but after a while understood why his father had done what he did. I still don't get what my father saw in that hellhole of a village. All they care about is themselves, especially the damn council. That stupid Banshee Hiruno called for my death almost every day, while that bastard Danzo wanted me to become a weapon for the village. Over the years, Naruto had gotten training from Kurama in the basics of the ninja arts, stealth specifically, and thanks to his natural fox-like nature being enhanced by the presence of the most powerful fox on the planet, and his 2 years of pranking and hiding, his skills in stealth and espionage were on par with the Anbu. With this knowledge and skill, Naruto had infiltrated and listened in on more than one council meeting. With the knowledge he had of the village's inner workings and some of the classified intelligence he had, the village would be forced to either kill him or meet his demands if he ever decided to use his knowledge. Especially the knowledge of the reason and secret behind the recent Uchiha massacre. I know Itachi Nizan was ordered to do what he did, and I swear that one day I will find him and help him. Other than Kurama, Itachi was one of the few people to ever treat him like a normal human and not some demon, the only other ones being his adoptive siblings. It was with Itachi's help that Naruto had managed to get to the level of skill he was at, and for that alone he vowed to one day pay Itachi back for the kindness he had shown him. Well, I guess I'd better find some place to set up camp for the night. Hey Kurama, do you want to come out and hunt tonight? Asked Naruto to his tenant. Sure kid, I'll find us something good to eat, said Kurama as he prepared himself to be summoned. Biting his thumb, Naruto went through 5 hand signs before slamming his hand on the ground. Summoning jutsu. In a swirl of fire, a 9-tailed fox about the size of a horse appeared. Alright kid, I'll be right back with dinner. With that, he sprinted off into the forest away from the village. It was an hour later that he returned to find Naruto sitting in a hollowed-out tree with a small fire going. When Kurama put the boar he killed down, Naruto took out a kunai and began to skin the boar and prepare it for cooking. Not only had Naruto been training in the ninja arts, but he had also been taught how to survive in the wilderness for long periods of time. The frequent attacks by the villagers had made that skill a necessity. So Kurama, do you think we should go back to the village this time or not? Asked Naruto after he set the boar to cook over the fire. No, I don't think we should go back this time. The old man would just put us back in that rat hole of an apartment, while the villagers that did this would only get a slap on the wrist and be told not to do it again. We're better off never going back there, said Kurama as he stared at the fire. While he would never come out and say it, he did have a reputation to uphold. He had always thought of Naruto as if he was one of his own pups. To a fox, family is a sacred thing and pups are held in an even higher regard. It was fox law that anyone abusing a child was to be killed on sight. The only reason he hadn't killed off the entire village was for Naruto's sake. It wouldn't do to have him see him when he was like that, not at this age at least. You're probably right, so where should we go then? Asked Naruto as he took a piece of the finished boar and began to eat. Shrugging a fox's equivalent of shoulders, Kurama grabbed a piece of the succulent meat with one of his tails and began to reap the spoils of his kill. The two ate in a comfortable silence as they tried to think of places they could go to get away from the village. Naruto was about to voice an idea, but Kurama stopped him with one of his tails. Looking at him confused, Naruto asked mentally, What is it, Kurama? Did someone find us? No, they haven't found us, but there are 2 shinobi near our position. I can't tell who. Well, that's interesting. Maybe this could work in our favor, said Kurama as he removed his tail from Naruto's mouth and vanished in a swirl of fire. Alright kid, let's go greet our visitors. Still slightly confused at what Kurama was up to, Naruto nodded his head and left to intercept his visitors. 2 men were walking through the forest near Konoha on their way home from a mission. The first one was a dark-skinned young man, with white hair that covered up his left eye. He wore the standard Kumo jounin attire, a white one-strap jounin vest over a high-collared black shirt that was slightly open at the front. He had black pants and black shinobi sandals. On his back he carried a cleaver sword, and had the kanji 4 water tattooed on his right shoulder, and the kanji 4 lightning on his left. This man was Darui, the right-hand man to the 4th Raikage. The other was also a dark-skinned man, but with a more muscular build. Like Darui, he wore the standard one-strapped white jounin vest. He had black pants with the standard Kumo jounin wrist and shin guards and a white scarf around his neck. On his back he had 7 swords each with a red-colored grip. He wore sunglasses and had a tattoo of 2 bull horns on his left cheek. He also had the tattoo 4 iron on his right shoulder that served as the iron armor seal for the 8-tailed ox. This man was Killer B, the Jinchuriki of the 8-tailed ox, and brother of the Raikage. The two were just returning from a mission and were leisurely walking through the forest of fire country enjoying the beauty of nature. B, who had been inspecting one of his swords for damage, was suddenly stopped by a demonic voice in his head. B, stop, I sense one of my kind's chakra nearby, though I can't tell whose, said the 8-tailed ox. Yuki? B's sudden stop caught the attention of his companion. B, you okay? I hope it's nothing dull, said Darui as he walked back to B. Not many things could cause B to suddenly stop moving so abruptly. Having full control of your Bijou tended to bring that kind of self-assurance. Yeah, I'm fine, Darui, but Yuki said he sensed another Bijou's chakra nearby, and it's not in Konoha, said B as he scanned their surroundings for the possible source of the chakra. As soon as he finished, the two heard a rustle from a nearby bush. Each reached for their respective weapons, only to freeze when they saw a blonde-haired boy that was obviously malnourished come out of the bush. The boy couldn't have been older than 6, but what caught their attention were the 6 whiskers-like marks on both his cheeks. Hey kid, are you okay? What are you doing out here? Asked Darui as he kneeled down to be on the same level as the kid, trying not to frighten him. He noticed that the kid's clothing was torn, almost to the point of it being more of a rag instead of a shirt. What the hell happened to this kid? B, meanwhile, was staring at the boy while he stared back, judging each other. Nobody moved or spoke for a few minutes, until Naruto broke the silence, turning to Darui. I'm fine, Shinobi-san. As for why I'm out here, I ran away from my village when a mob of civilians tried to kill me again. At this, both men's faces contorted into looks of rage and disgust. Why would people try to kill an innocent boy? Naruto stood watching the 2 shinobi in front of him. Both were emitting killing intent and were obviously angered from what he told them. It wasn't until a few minutes later that B was brought out his thoughts of anger by his demonic tenant. B, the chakra is coming from this boy. He's a Jinchuriki, for which I can't tell. The chakra is just barely being let out. He either has control over the demonic chakra or his Bijou is being very careful in making sure they aren't noticed. Surprised from what his friend said, B decided to make sure he was right, no matter how weird his next sentence was going to sound. Hey kid, this is going to sound strange, but I need you to remove your shirt and call on your chakra if you can. This surprised Darui. He was about to ask why B had asked that of the boy but was cut off by said boy. So it is you. You're like me, said Naruto, looking B in the eye. Slightly surprised by the fact that a mere child could speak with such seriousness, he nodded his head and decided to find out what Gyuki couldn't. Yes, I am like you. Our kind is known as Jinchuriki. I hold the 8-tailed ox, and my name is Killer B. What's yours? Asked B as he walked up to the boy and kneeled down to his level. He didn't know why, but he had a strange feeling that this boy was no mere child, even by Jinchuriki standards. So Kurama was right, Gyuki was nearby. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. I am the Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox, Kurama, said the blonde as the 2 men's eyes widened to the size of a tree. This kid was the son of the 4th Hokage, the yellow flash of the leaf, and Kushina Uzumaki, the red death of the leaf. With his parentage alone, this boy should be treated as royalty in his home village, yet he was shunned and people had tried to kill him for the beast he holds. This is going to sound a little weird, but can I come with you back to your village, please? Now the 2 were even more surprised. The son of the most feared Hokage in the history of Konoha, Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox, wanted to come and join Kumogakure? I knew he wasn't an ordinary child, but damn! He's the son of the legendary Yellow Flash and the Red Death. With training he will be invincible, and I intend on being one of the ones to get him there, thought B while he tried to reboot his brain to a working level. Sure kid, you can come with us, said B as he got over his shock faster than Darui. Nodding his head, Naruto claimed on B's shoulder, and they set out at full speed for Lightning Country. With Naruto's squeals of happiness being heard the entire trip. Kumogakure no Sato. It was a day later that the trio arrived in Kumogakure no Sato. They were on their way to see the Raikage while Naruto kept looking around at his new home. The buildings were different than in his old home, and when people looked at him they weren't looks of hate and disgust, but kindness and acceptance. When they arrived at the Raikage Tower, the guards bowed to Darui and B and sent kind smiles to Naruto, who gladly returned them. He had only received this kind of treatment from Kurama, Itachi and his siblings. When they reached the door to the Raikage's office they didn't even bother knocking and just went straight in. Kind of like what I did with that stupid old man Hokage, thought Naruto while he jumped down from B's shoulder and stood before the leader of Kumogakure. Yo bro, mission complete. But we picked up a little hitchhiker on our way back, said B while he fought to keep a smirk from crossing his lips. When bro finds out who Naruto really is, it's going to be fucking hilarious. A looked at the blonde before him and gave him a kind smile. Hello there, I'm A, the Raikage of Kumo. What's your name? He asked as he came around his desk and allowed Naruto a better view of him. He was a very muscular man, even more than B. He didn't wear a shirt, allowing everyone to see his well-defined chest. He had black pants on with a belt that had a gold plate on the front with the face of a boar carved into it. He had on the traditional white robe of a kage which served to cover 2 gauntlets on both of his wrists. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and before you ask, yes, my father was Minato Namikaze the 4th Hokage and Yellow Flash. My mother was Kushina Uzumaki. If you will allow it, I would like to live in Kumo and become a shinobi of this village, said Naruto as A's eyes almost popped out of his head at this revelation. If those two had a kid, he would be a truly fearsome and almost invincible shinobi. Meanwhile in B's head, damn, that was funny. Did you see the look on bro's face? Ha 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 ha, I haven't seen him that surprised since dad told him he would be the Raikage. Very well, Naruto. I don't see the problem with you joining our village, and we'd be honored to have you as one of our shinobi, said A with a small smile. I have a feeling I may very well have just met my successor. Returning the smile, Naruto walked up to the Raikage and gave him a hug. Slightly surprised, A returned the hug and turned to B to tell him where to take Naruto, but he beat him to the punch. Bro, you should know that young Naruto here is a Jinchuriki like me and Yujito. He holds the 9-tailed fox. This of course nearly gave the young Kage a heart attack. Not only was the boy he hugging the son of 2 of the most powerful and feared shinobi to ever come from Konoha, but he was also the Jinchuriki of the most powerful and feared Bijou in existence. Now I'm certain of it. I just met my successor, and he is most likely the one who is going to kill me with a heart attack if all these surprises are anything to go by. Alright, B, I want you to start training young Naruto here to control the fox's chakra like you are Yujito. Also take him to the apartment building Yujito lives in. I'm sure they'd both get along very well with each other, said A as he released Naruto from the hug and walked back to his desk and started writing some things down. The entire time all this was going on, Darui was silently watching Naruto, deciding whether or not to act on the feeling he had about the boy. His decision was made for him when his tattoo on his left shoulder began to burn a little, so he is the one who can harness the true power of the Black Lightning. Hey boss, I would like to train Naruto as well, he said in an oddly serious voice that didn't suit his laid-back attitude. Hearing the tone in his right-hand man's voice, I knew this was something serious. Why would that be, Darui? And what would you train him in? Asked A. I would train him in what the 3rd Raikage trained me in, the secret to the Black Lightning technique. Of all the answers A and B were expecting, this was definitely not one of them. The Black Lightning was one of the most powerful techniques Kumo had. As for why, because my tattoo reacted to him. When the 3rd gave me this tattoo, he built in a seal that would react in the presence of the one person who was capable of harnessing the true power of the Black Lightning. Also the 3rd left me a scroll to give to my successor, a token of the one who first wielded the Black Lightning. This surprised both muscled men. The 3rd, their father, had left behind a way to find a true successor to his unique technique. Very well, Darui, you will help train young Naruto in the secrets of the Black Lightning, while B will train the boy to control his bijou. But for now, B take Naruto to the academy. Today was the first day of class and I'm sure he would like to start on his road to becoming a shinobi. Am I right, Naruto? Said A as he turned to the little blonde only to find him missing with a small dust cloud in his place. Looking back towards the 2 jounin, he noticed he was missing one. B. Darui, where the hell did B and Naruto go? He asked, completely confused. Darui, who had been staring at the door with wide eyes, was brought out of his stupor by the sound of his boss's voice. Look out your window, was all he said. Even more confused, A looked out the window only to fall out of his chair laughing his ass off. There was Naruto running in the direction of the academy while pulling B by the arm, who appeared to be little more than a rag doll being thrown this way and that by a 6-year-old boy. I was wrong, Naruto won't be the death of me cause of a heart attack he caused. He'll kill me from lack of oxygen with how hard I'm laughing. When they finally reached the academy, Naruto was smiling like a goofball, while B was covered in bruises from being used as an end trail for the boy and mumbling something about energetic blondes being the death of me. They entered the building and headed for the classroom that A had given B before Naruto had literally dragged him halfway across Kumo to get here. When they reached the correct classroom, B knocked on the door and waited for the teacher to respond. With a quick enter, the two walked in and the class and teacher went wide-eyed at the sight of the guardian of Cloud walking into their class with the young blonde by his side. "B-sama, what can I do for you?" asked the slightly odd Chunin. "I'm just here to drop off Naruto. He just joined the village and wants to be a shinobi. I trust you'll treat him like all the others," said B as he handed the teacher the papers he managed to grab before Naruto gotten a hold of him. The teacher's eyes widened when he read Naruto's name, and almost died of a heart attack when he saw who his parents were. Looking to B for confirmation, the teacher saw him nod, and he almost passed out from the revelation. If everyone reacts this way to Naruto's identity, then we'll lose over half of our shinobi force thanks to heart attacks, thought B while he looked from the still awestruck Chunin to Naruto who was studying his new sensei. He wore the standard Kumo Chunin attire, one strapped white flak jacket, black pants along with a black t-shirt. He also wore the standard wrist and shin guards of Kumogakure and was fairly muscled. Like most people he'd seen in Kumo, he was dark-skinned and had his long black hair pulled into a shoulder-length ponytail. Yes, well Naruto, I'm Bokudai Yoharo and I'll be your sensei for the time you're at the academy. Now why don't you introduce yourself to the rest of the class, said Bokudai, as he gestured towards the class. Nodding his head, Naruto walked to the front of the class. Hey, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I am originally from Konoha, but I ran away because I was hated. When he was finished, B stepped up and put a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Turning to one of his new senseis, Naruto saw that he had a serious face on. Naruto, after you're dismissed, you'll be starting your training with me to control him, alright? Yujito, I want you to show him where we normally train, alright? He'll be joining us. B finished looking over towards a blonde-haired girl who had her hair in a braid. Wait, Uncle B, do you mean he's like us? Asked Yujito as she rose from her seat with a look of shock on her face. B was about to answer the shocked girl when another voice cut him off. Why would you think someone as cute as this new guy would be like you, freak? You're just a monster cat, like the one you hold, said another random girl, as most of the class started agreeing. Yujito seemed hurt by all of this and looked ready to cry, before a girl with dark skin and vibrant red hair went to comfort her. Naruto was surprised. B hadn't mentioned that there was another Jinchuriki his age, but his surprise was soon replaced with anger when he heard what the other girl said about her. No, I won't let another person suffer through the same thing I had to. Walking up the steps towards the back of the class, everyone watched as he approached Yujito. Many thought he was going to do something to hurt her and laugh at her. What happened next none of them saw coming. Are you okay, Yujito? He asked once he reached her. She looked into his eyes trying to find any deception in them, but what she saw brought a tear to her eye. He had the same eyes as her, ones that knew pain, what it was like to be rejected, feared and hated by those who didn't understand what they were. The tear fell down her cheek when he embraced her and tried to comfort her. Returning the hug, Yujito could do little other than sigh in content. She didn't know what it was, but there was something about this new guy that just made her want to stay with him for the rest of her life. Not believing what she was seeing, the same girl who made fun of Yujito earlier spoke in an almost hysteric voice. What? You can't honestly like her, she a monster. She has the two-tailed monster cat sealed in her. She would have continued, but suddenly the entire classroom was filled with unimaginable amounts of killing intent. Bokudai was scarred. The thickness of the killing intent he was feeling was incredible and terrifying at the same time. He looked over at B thinking the killing intent was coming from him, but was surprised when he was wearing a smirk and wasn't radiating anything. Looking over towards his new student, Bokudai nearly had a heart attack when he realized all of this killing intent was coming from him. Never insult Yujito in my presence. She and I are the same, she bears a burden the same as I do, so if you insult her you are insulting not only me, but Killer B as well since he also carries a bijou, said Naruto as he gave his voice a demonic edge and turned to face the scarred girl. He smirked as he heard her and most of the class gasps of shock. He knew it was his eyes that had scared them. Gone were the warm sapphires that had been so friendly and kind, replaced with two blood-red glowing orbs with vertical slits for the pupils. Deciding to drive his point home, Naruto looked over at B and nodded, letting him know everything was under control. After B nodded in return, Naruto began emitting some of Kurama's chakra that formed his chakra cloak in the shape of a fox with one tail. She may hold the two-tail and B may hold the eight-tail, but my burden is the hardest to bear, for I hold the nine-tailed fox inside me. When he finished speaking, his cloak receded and his features returned to normal. Giving his trademark fox grin, he turned to B who was smirking as well. Well, I guess I'll catch you later, B. Don't worry, I'll watch out for Yujito and make sure that anyone who tries to insult her will pay dearly. Alright Naruto, Yujito, make sure you show Naruto where we train every day. I'll catch you two lovebirds later, see ya. With that, B walked out of the room, leaving behind a stunned class, a smirking Naruto, a blushing Yujito and a smiling teacher. It seems these next few years won't be as boring as I thought. Yujito was also in thought as she stared at the blonde before her. He carried a burden that was even greater than hers, yet he could still be happy and carefree. Her thoughts were interrupted, however, by the voice of her own tenant, one seriously perverted cat known as Matatabi. Kyukun, it's him, it's really him. Kitten, you need to drag that boy to your apartment, lock the door and not let him get any sleep for a month. Mata, knock it off, I will not drag him to my apartment, and you know we can't do that, we're barely 6 for God's sake. Kitten, please, I need my Kyukun and I need him now. Tio, bad, you'll have Tio wait. With that, Yujito cut the connection to her tenant so she didn't have to listen to her rant about being denied her Kyukun time. Alright class, well let's begin, shall we? Naruto, why don't you take a seat next to Yujito so we can begin? With that, Naruto started on the road to his new life as a ninja of Kumogakure. 6 years later, Naruto sat beside Yujito waiting for the rest of the class to arrive and to receive their team placements. Over the years, Naruto had changed greatly, and become one of the most feared people in his class, with Yujito a close second. The reason the two were so feared was because of their habit of showing their chakra cloak when someone pissed them off. After Naruto had defended Yujito during the first day of class, he was welcomed with open arms into Yujito's little circle of friends. The first one was Samui. She was a blonde like the two of them, though hers was straight and reached her shoulders. She wore the standard kunoichi attire for Kumogakure, with a short sword strapped horizontally to the back of her hip. Unlike most girls in their class, Samui was well endowed in the chest, already having a nice C-cup, which caused her to have constant back pains. Another one was the redhead he saw comfort Yujito on the first day. Kaori was a dark-skinned girl with yellow eyes. She wore the standard attire for a Kumo kunoichi like Samui, but she had a katana sword strapped to her back. She also wore her new headband like a bandana. The last of their little circle of friends was a boy named Omoi. He was dark-skinned like most people in Kumogakure. He had short white spiky hair and wore the standard shinobi garb of Kumo and carried a katana on his back like Kaori, but he wore his headband in the regular fashion. A little quirk about Omo was that he always had a sucker in his mouth and was overthinking things constantly, which caused for Kaori to beat him up every now and then. Naruto and Yujito were the odds ones out of the group, opting to wear some more unique clothes than just the classic shinobi and kunoichi outfits of their village. Yujito wore a short-sleeved purple and black shirt that showed off her developing figure nicely, with black pants that had a purple cloud pattern on them. She also had on purple fingerless gloves with beads wrapped around her left hand. She had her hair in a long braid and her new headband was tied around her forehead. Naruto now wore a pair of baggy black pants with a red stripe going up either side them, along with a black sleeveless shirt with a red nine-tailed fox on the back that showed his muscled arms. His forearms were both wrapped in black medical tape, and on his right shoulder was a tattoo of the kanji for lightning, much like his sensei Darui's. He had a ninjato sword strapped to his back that had the head of Black Fox as the guard, with his headband tied around his left bicep. Over the years he spent training with his senseis, he had come a long way, though he was only slightly stronger than a rookie chunin without Kurama's chakra and influence. Thanks to the training he got from B, he was able to control up to 3 of Kurama's tails without going berserk. Though he and Kurama were on good terms and their chakras didn't fight one another, the potency of the demonic chakra alone was enough to make him go berserk. His training with Darui had also been very productive. He now knew about 8 or so lightning-style jutsu, and he could use 5 of them with the Black Lightning. He had learned early on that the Black Lightning wasn't a Kekkei Genkai or anything similar to it. It was just a much more potent form of lightning itself. Instead of using high-speed electrical currents that formed regular lightning, to use the Black Lightning one had to use their chakra to slow down the electrical currents, which allowed higher concentration of electrical energy to be delivered at once, and also gave the lightning its dark coloring. However, for one to be able to use this ability, one had to have an insanely high affinity for lightning-style chakra. He also knew, though, that there were jutsu that could only be used with the Black Lightning, and he wouldn't learn any of those until he made Chunin. Just as the last students were sitting down, their sensei, Bokudai, walked into the room with a clipboard in hand. Turning to the class, Bokudai gave them a proud smile and congratulated them one more time on graduating, before he started reading off the teams. Naruto tuned most of them out until he heard his name called. Team 20 will be an assault and assassination team, Naruto Namikaze, Yujito Ni, and Karui. Your sensei will be Darui. You will meet him at Training Ground 20. Team 21 will be a rescue and support team, Samui, Omoi, and Uzumaki. Your sensei will be sure. Meet him at Training Ground 21. After the rest of the teams were assigned, everyone started leaving with their teams to meet with their new senseis. When Naruto and his team arrived at the training ground, they found Darui sitting in the middle of it, looking bored out of his mind. Hey Darui sensei, hope things aren't too dull for you, said Naruto as they approached their new/old sensei. With you 3 as a team, I don't think things will ever be dull for me for a long time to come, said Darui as he gave his students a smile, which was returned. Well, why don't we introduce ourselves, even though I doubt any of us need one. My name is Darui and I will be your sensei from now on. I like relaxing and doing missions with my partner, sure. I dislike those who would bring harm to Kumogakure. My hobbies are helping boss out whenever he needs it, and my dream is to protect the boss with my life. When he finished, Darui pointed towards Naruto to go next. I'm Naruto Namikaze. I like training and my friends. I dislike anyone who insults my friends and the villagers of Konoha, and my hobbies are training to use my Black Lightning and hanging out with my friends. My dream is to one day become the Raikage and lead Kumo to glory, and to one day start a family with the girl I love, said Naruto with much conviction in his voice. He glanced at Yujito when he said the last part. This didn't go unnoticed by Darui or Karui. Next, our other blonde friend, said Darui with a knowing smirk directed at Naruto, who blushed a little at the smirk. My name is Yujito Ni. I like my friends. I dislike those that can't accept me for me, and my hobbies are training and hanging out with my friends. My dream is to become the right-hand person to the Raikage and to start a family with the man I love, said Yujito as she glanced at Naruto, which again did not go unnoticed by their sensei and teammate. Nodding, Darui gestured toward Karui to round them off. I'm Karui. I like training to use my sword and beating the crap out of Omoi. I dislike when Omoi starts overthinking things. My hobbies are training to use my sword, and my dream is to become a well-respected kunoichi of Kumo, said Karui. Alright, that's it for today. Meet me here tomorrow morning at 8 for our first mission and some training. said Derry as he got up and left to who knows where. A week later. For the past week Team 20 had trained with Derry in the mornings, and did chores missions in the afternoon. It was now Saturday and Team 20 was once again on another D-rank mission. Their mission was to capture the demon dog, Ukami, the lightning daimyo's wife's dog. They had chased the thing all over the village and were currently trying to surround it and capture it. Hothead here, I'm in position, and Naruto I'm going to kill you, said Carrie over the headset. Fiery cat in position, I still say we should roast the thing, said Yujito. Black fox in position, I swear if that thing attacks me again I'm letting Yujito-chan fry it, said Naruto as he glared at the dog from his hiding place. It appeared to be any regular golden retriever, but if you asked any genin team that had the misfortune of catching it, they would tell you that it was the 10th bijou in disguise. No killing the target team, on my mark capture the target. 3, 2, 1 now, said Derry as the 3 genin launched from their hiding places and tackled the dog. The second they grabbed it, it started clawing and biting at all of them. Oh, that's it! Karui put this stupid mutt in a genjutsu, screamed Naruto as he tried to hold back the rapid animal. It wasn't a second later that the thing stopped attacking and fell asleep thanks to the genjutsu. Okay, that is the last time we accept this mission. Next time we get it I'm zapping that dumb dog with my black lightning, said Naruto as they made their way back to the Raikage's office to give their report, and hand over the demon dog to its owner who would probably crush the life out of the thing. They were right. The first second the daimyo's wife had her dog back she started squeezing the life out of it. It's getting what it deserves, was the general thought process of the entire team. Well done Team 20, now for your next mission you will be doing your first C-rank, said the Raikage. This caught the team's attention since they were eager to get a better mission. Your mission is to eliminate some bandits that have been terrorizing some villages near the Lightning Earth country border. Though they haven't attacked any villages outright, they have made threats, and I want them taken care of before anything can happen. This scroll will lead you to their position. When you arrive don't let any of them escape, kill them all and recover anything that could be of value to the village. I handed Derry the mission scroll for the more in-depth details before turning to Team 20 to judge their reactions. In truth he didn't want to send them on this mission that would force them to kill at such an age, but he had no choice. Naruto was staring off into space trying to come to terms with what he would be doing soon. He knew that as a ninja he would have to eventually kill people, but he didn't think it would be this early on. Coming back to reality he looked at his teammates and was suddenly reminded of why he had originally wanted to become a shinobi, to protect those precious to him. That was his reason for fighting, and that would be his reason for killing, to remove anyone who might bring harm to the ones he held dear to him. Yujito was looking at the floor trying to decide if she could honestly go through with the acts she would have to commit. She knew she would kill eventually, it was part of the life of a kunoichi, and it was the basic essence of survival. Kill or be killed, that was it, plain and simple. She was a survivor by nature, as was the nature of all Jinchuriki. She would survive not only for herself, but for Naruto. She vowed to herself to always be by his side and to do that she needed to survive. Karui wasn't taking the news of their new mission as bad as her teammates. Being from a clan of swordsmen, she had been forced to undergo a basic test to see if she had what it took to wield and learn the art of the sword. When it comes to skills with a sword, there was no room for error or hesitance. The test had made her raise a rabbit for a month and at the end of it she was ordered to kill it with her katana. This was the test she had to pass to even be allowed to wield a blade. She wouldn't like it, but she would go through with it. Darui sent a concerned glance to his team. He knew that for each of them that this would be their first time killing another human being. He was about to request that his team take on a different mission until he saw the fire and determination return to their eyes. He smiled at this. He knew his team wouldn't like having to kill, but they would do it if it meant protecting each other. When they weren't training, he would often watch as his team hung out with their friends and he noticed how protective they all were of each other. He remembered on one such occasion when an older civilian boy had tried to come on to Yujito, only to be shot down. He didn't like that so much and had tried to grab Yujito to have his way with her. He had about jumped from his position on Stop the Boy, but Naruto and the others had beaten him to the punch. The boy had to spend about a year in the hospital, and was still spending his time there. It was rumored that even though he would recover from the beating itself, he would not be touching anybody ever again. "Alright boss, we'll head out within the hour to begin our mission," said Darui before turning to his team. "Meet at the West Gate in 30 minutes and prepare for an all-out fight when we reach our target." The 3 genin nodded before heading towards their respective homes to prepare for the mission. West Gate 30 minutes later. Darui stood waiting for his team to show up. He was currently going over the instructions on the mission scroll trying to find the fastest way to their target. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard 3 people land in front of him. Looking up revealed it to be his team, each of them combat ready. "Alright team, let's get moving before things get too dull." With that said, Darui launched himself down the mountain with his genin quickly following. They continued down until they cleared the cloud bank and saw the small forest that surrounded the base of the mountains their village was built on. Once they were close enough to the forest, they jumped from the mountain into the treetops and began moving through the forest heading in the direction of the bandits' camp. It was a few hours after they cleared the forest and made it to a stone quarry that resembled the border of Earth Country. At the center of the quarry, they spotted the bandit camp and noticed that many of the bandits were sitting around doing whatever to keep them from getting bored. Okay team, it seems that there are about 40 or so bandits in all. We'll each take a different part of the camp. Naruto, you take the north, Yujito the east, Karu, you take the south, and I'll take the west. Try and kill them as quickly and as silently as possible. Avoid any actual battle as best you can. Take your positions and wait for my signal to move, said Darui as he vanished from his spot along with Naruto and Karui, each heading to their respective parts of the camp, leaving Yujito to the east side of the camp. It took about 5 minutes for everyone to get into position around the camp, each waiting anxiously for the signal to attack. They didn't have to wait long, for as soon as the last fire in the camp went out, Darui gave the signal and they made their way into the camp. Karui rushed into the camp with her katana drawn and at the ready. Her part of the camp held most of the tents, so her targets were all asleep, except for the 2 that were about to go to sleep before they lost their heads. Sheathing her katana, and taking out some kunai, she made her way silently into each of the tents, slitting the throats of any bandits she found. Yujito moved with the grace and speed of a cat as she jumped from her spot among some stones. She landed on a table where about 5 bandits were sitting around playing poker in the moonlight. With kunai in hand, she spun around, slitting all of their throats before they had time to make her appearance known. Unfortunately, one of the bandits that was passing by saw the whole thing and called her help as he charged her. About 4 more bandits came running towards her with katanas, and knives drawn and ready to strike her. Jumping over the swing of the first bandit, she delivered a quick kick to his head, disorienting him and giving her enough time to stab her kunai into his neck. Turning to the other approaching bandits, she let loose 8 shuriken before placing all of them under a genjutsu Karui had taught her. It disoriented the target to the point that they couldn't tell which way was up or down. Unfortunately, the genjutsu would only last about 5 seconds, but that was all she needed as her shuriken met their marks and the corpses fell to the ground. Naruto launched a handful of kunai when the signal came, effectively killing 5 bandits in the process. Moving into the camp, he drew his ninjato to block the strike of one of the bandits, who managed to avoid the kunai. Pushing him back, Naruto took advantage of his opponent's loss of balance, and quickly let loose a shuriken that embedded itself in the man's neck. Charging the remaining 4 bandits in his part of the camp, Naruto made quick work of them with some well-placed kenjutsu strikes. Seeing no more bandits in his part of the camp, he made his way into the heart of the camp to see if his teammates needed some help. Darui didn't take any chances. As soon as he gave his team the signal to attack, he formed some lightning clones and moving as one, they each killed a bandit with their cleaver swords. Releasing his jutsu, Darui made his way deeper to meet up with his team and to kill any remaining bandits. When he arrived at the middle of the camp, he wasn't surprised to see the rest of his team arriving at the same time. "Well done team, you've just completed your first C-rank mission," said Darui once they were all together. "Now all we need to do before we return to the village is ransack this place for anything of value." Nodding, they all split up to cover a different part of the camp, agreeing to meet up back in the center once they were done. With Naruto, "Man, I knew bandits were unorganized, but this is fucking ridiculous," thought Naruto as he continued to search the extremely messy weapons storage. "I've been searching in here for almost 20 minutes, and I haven't even made it halfway through this place." As he continued to push his way through the piles of poorly cared for weapons, something in the corner of the room caught his eye. Moving over to check what it was, he found a medium-sized wooden chest with slightly rusted metal accessories. However, it was what was drawn onto the chest that had his full attention, as well as causing his eyes to grow to the size of saucers. There on the top of the chest was the famed and feared red swirl of the Uzumaki clan. "This belonged to my clan? How in the 7 levels of hell did some stupid bandits get their hands on something like this?" thought Naruto with barely contained rage. Looking over the chest, he found what he knew was a blood seal carved into the center of the swirl. Biting his thumb, he smeared some of his blood onto the seal, hearing a soft click as he did so. Lifting the lid as if it were made of glass, Naruto felt his breath hitch when he saw 6 scrolls inside of the chest. The first scroll was about 2.5 feet long with a black body with silver edges. Drawn all over the body of the scroll were numerous seals, all linked to another blood seal in the center of the scroll. The other 5 scrolls were all one solid color and were about a foot in length, and like the large scroll, they all had seals holding them closed. One thing Naruto noticed was different about the smaller scrolls was that each of them had something written on it. A dark blue scroll had Suijin written in kanji. Next to it was a dark green scroll with the kanji for Fujin. The third scroll was a blood red color with the kanji for Kijijin. A brown scroll with the kanji for Chijin sat next to it, and the last scroll was a shade of yellow that seemed to match his own hair with the kanji Raijin on it. Looking away from the scrolls at the sound of something falling nearby brought Naruto's attention to an envelope attached to the inside of the lid. Opening the envelope revealed a letter written in clean, crisp handwriting. "To the Uzumaki that finds this. First off, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mito Uzumaki Senju, wife of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage of Konohagakure no Sado. While this may seem difficult to believe, but if you truly are an Uzumaki, then I am your distant grandmother. If you are not already aware of your Uzumaki heritage, allow me to give you a brief history of our clan. As I'm sure you already know, the shinobi world was created by a man known as the Sage of the Six Paths. Many have forgotten, but those who haven't believe that the sage only had two sons, the elder which received his father's eyes and would go on to found the Uchiha clan, and the younger which received his father's body and would go on to found the Senju clan. This is only a half-truth, as unlike what is believed, the sage had a third son. Where the eldest son received his father's eyes, and the middle son received his father's body, the youngest son received something of even more value than his two brothers: his father's mind. With the knowledge the youngest received from his father, he was able to help his father perform a task that would forever change the ninja world: the birth of the Bija. The sage, when he was in his prime, faced a great evil known as the Jubi. He managed to defeat the great beast by sealing it inside of himself, becoming the first Jinchuriki. The sage knew that with his death the Jubi would be released upon the world, and even if his sons were to all fight as one, they would still be defeated. So he called on his youngest to help him split the Jubi's power into multiple pieces. They, however, could not just leave the power without a host to contain it, so they took 9 freshly born animals and sealed the power into their bodies, giving birth to the Bija as the world knows them today. It was this son that would go on to found our clan, the Uzumaki. However, as time passed, our clan became more and more feared for our vast knowledge in any and all shinobi arts. It was this fear that led to multiple attacks on our home village of Uzushiogakure. The attacks on our village seemed endless, so the head of our clan at the time decided to ensure that even if Uzushiogakure fell, the knowledge of our clan would be out of reach to anyone not of our blood. To this end, a seal was created that was inscribed directly into the DNA of all Uzumaki, and would be passed down to our descendants. The seal prevents anyone, even other Uzumakis, from reading or entering our minds, and immediately destroys our chakra system once we die. While the seal prevented knowledge from being taken from our minds and bodies, it did not protect the knowledge our clan scrolls carried. To prevent this knowledge from being used against our clan, a multi-layered defense was placed on all of our clan scrolls. Blood seals were placed on all of the scrolls. The knowledge written in them was written in a code only an Uzumaki would be able to read, thanks to a similar seal placed in our clan's eyes. And lastly, all of the scrolls were sealed into chests like the one you found this letter in, and those chests were sealed into a stronghold that was entrusted to and hidden by the Namikaze clan. Shortly after this, however, the fears of the clan came to pass: the fall of Uzushiogakure. With the destruction of our village, the surviving Uzumaki scattered to the 4 winds, some becoming civilians, while others continued on as shinobi. I myself continued my life as a kunoichi, and eventually married Hashirama Senju, the head of the Senju clan. Once Hashirama took the title of Hokage after he founded the village alongside Madara Uchiha, I began to search for the other surviving Uzumaki to bring them to our new village. What I discovered, however, was not what I was hoping for. Almost all of our clan were hunted down and killed, and only one other Uzumaki had survived. I brought the young boy to the village, and since I could not have children of my own, I adopted him and raised him as my own. The chest before you was not sealed with the others because it holds the only key to unlocking the vault that holds the others. The black scroll contains the beginnings of the Uzumaki clan's knowledge of sealing. Also contained in this scroll is the summoning contract for the Uzumaki clan, the Foxes. This summoning contract is the key to the vault, for only with the chakra of the 9-tailed fox himself will you be able to unlock the vault. The 5 smaller scrolls contain the knowledge and the hidden locations of the Uzumaki clan's greatest weapons, the 5 elemental swords. These swords contain the harnessed energy of the 5 main elements, and have been blessed by the very gods they are named after. It was with these swords that the shinobi of Uzushiogakure had managed to defeat the multiple attempts to destroy our village, but like our knowledge, we feared what would happen should they fall into the wrong hands. So they were scattered around the continent, each hidden and awaiting the day they are needed once more. I must go now. My time on this earth is at an end. Know that I will be watching over you, along with the rest of our clan. I only ask that you use this knowledge to bring honor back to the Uzumaki, and to strike down those who would bring darkness to this world. Good luck, young Uzumaki, and remember to always follow your heart. Mito Uzumaki. Naruto was stunned. His clan was a direct descendant from the youngest son of the Sage of the Six Paths. Not only that, but they possessed knowledge passed down from the sage himself. Despite all of these revelations, there were a few things he needed answers to, and he knew just the fox to get them from. Hey Kurama, were you aware of this? Some of it, yes. I remember my birth. I was born premature and most likely wouldn't survive a week. That was when the sage and his son came and took me away. After they sealed my power into my body, I swore to always stand by the youngest son and his family. However, I knew I couldn't stay in the human world as I was, so I found and challenged the leader of the fox summon for the right to lead the clan. I won, and presented the fox summoning contract to the youngest son. You see, there are 2 contracts for every summoning animal clan, one for the humans and one for the clans themselves. The one I had you sign all those years ago was the brother to the scroll contained in the scroll before you. Also, I remember being summoned at one point by the head of your clan and asked to focus some of my chakra into a seal they designed. I never knew what it was for, but I guess we do now, said Kurama through their mental link. Nodding in understanding, Naruto closed the lid of the chest, hearing the blood seal reactivating before taking out a pre-made sealing scroll and sealing the chest away for easier transport. Making sure there was nothing else that could be of value to his village, he left and started making his way back to the center of the camp where his team was waiting. With Team 20 same time. "What's taking him so long?" asked Carrie as she inspected her katana for any defects. It had been about 20 minutes and they had each already gone through their part of the camp and sealed away anything of value. "I don't know, Carrie, but remember Naruto had the largest part of the camp to search, so it might take a little longer," said Derry as he leaned against one of the larger rocks in the camp. "True, but still it shouldn't be taking him this long to search for anything that might be valuable," said Yujito as she kept glancing in the direction that Naruto had left. Just as she was about to go and look for him, she saw a familiar head of blonde hair coming towards them. "Looks like he finished," she said, catching the attention of her sensei and teammate. They looked to see Naruto walking towards them, looking off into space, a habit of his when he was deep in thought. "Hey Naruto, did you find anything?" asked Derry, only for Naruto to continue looking off into space. This set off warning bells inside everyone's heads. When Naruto got into a state like this, only the three of them were able to get him out of it. For him to completely ignore Derry said that something happened that could have drastic and far-reaching consequences. "Naruto, what happened? What did you find?" Derry tried again to reach his student. It seemed to work when they noticed his eyes returning from their slightly glazed state. "Huh, what did you say, sensei?" asked Naruto, still a little distracted from the earlier revelations. "I asked if something happened to you. Did you find something that caused this state you're in?" asked Derry, concerned for his student, lacing his voice. Looking at his teammates, Naruto found that they looked just as worried for him, if not more. Letting a small smile grace his lips, Naruto closed his eyes and took a few breaths before looking into the faces of his concerned team. "I found something very interesting, something that will forever change our village. I found a chest containing scrolls with the Uzumaki clan's unique art of sealing jutsu, and I plan on learning everything the scrolls have to offer," said Naruto, shocking the rest of his team. If what he said was true, then the possibilities were almost endless, because no one outside of the Uzumaki clan could understand and perform their unique style of sealing and jutsu. Guys, hey, anyone in there?" Shaking off the rest of their shock, the rest of Team 20 nodded in understanding and sent a smile to Naruto. Returning the smile, Naruto started off in the direction of their village with his team following. "Don't worry everybody, I swear on my life that I will bring honor back to our clan, and I will destroy those that would seek to stop me." Kumogakyu no Sato 3 hours later. "Hey boss, mission to eliminate some bandits completed," said Derry as he and his team walked into the Raikage's office. Looking up from his paperwork, it was surprised to see that the genin of Team 20 didn't seem even a little bit fazed that they had just killed other human beings. "This team will go far," thought A before addressing Derry. "Excellent work Team 20, your pay for the mission will be transferred into your accounts later today. Now before any of you get any ideas of resting or relaxing, I have another mission for you." Of all the responses A was expecting, complaining, whining, or shouting, he was not expecting the one he got. "Sure, as long as it's another C rank and not some useless D rank," said Naruto with a shrug. Looked the other two members of Team 20, and noticed they agreed with Naruto. Shaking off his shock at a genin team that didn't mind doing back-to-back missions, he handed Derry the mission scroll, thinking, "They will go far, farther than any of us expect them to." "Team 20, your next mission is a protection one. You are to go to Wave Country and rendezvous with a man named Tazuna. He is currently building a bridge that will connect Wave to the mainland. Your mission is to guard him while he finishes the bridge." Nodding in understanding, Derry addressed his students with a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "All right team, I doubt you need anything else for this mission, so meet at the South Gate in 10 minutes, and be prepared for a run." South Gate. Team 20 was heading out through the South Gate at a speed that most Chunins would have trouble following. They continued like this for a few hours until they reached a port where they could get a boat that would take them to Wave Country. Deciding to take advantage of the long boat ride, Derry took out 3 pieces of chakra paper and handed them to his team. "Okay team, we're going to test what your elemental affinities are before we get to Wave, because I plan on teaching each of you at least one new jutsu for this mission," Derry said as he handed them the chakra paper. "This chakra paper will let us know what your affinity is. Yujito, why don't you go first? Just channel some of your chakra into the paper." Yujito nodded and channeled some of her chakra into the paper. When the chakra reached the paper, it started to crumple up and then burst into flames. 2 affinities right from the start, strange but not unheard of. "So it looks like you have fire and lightning affinities. I don't know many fire jutsu, but I'll help you with the ones I do know, and I'm sure I can talk Dodai into helping with fire jutsu. Alright Karui, you next." Channeling chakra into her paper, Karui watched as it crumpled like Yujito's, but instead of bursting into flames, hers got damp. "Another 2 affinities from the start? Man, I was right when I said this team wouldn't be dull. You have water and lightning affinities, the same as mine. Good. Alright Naruto, you're up." Naruto channeled chakra into his paper, and Darui almost had a heart attack from the results. Naruto's paper split into 3 pieces, with one bursting into flames, another crumpling up to the point it was almost gone, and the last one turning into dirt. FF4 affinities, that shouldn't be possible. It's unheard of. Damn Naruto, I knew you would be surprising but not enough to almost give me a heart attack, said Darui as he held his hand over his heart for emphasis. Sorry Darui-sensei, didn't mean to give you a heart attack, said Naruto as he smirked at his sensei. Yujito and Kari were smirking as well, with Yujito giving Naruto glances every now and then. Hey kid, before your sensei asks, me being inside you had nothing to do with your affinities, they're all you. Though with my presence they will be a little more potent than normal, said Kurama from inside Naruto's head. Just like Kurama predicted, Naruto noticed his sensei about to ask a question. Before you ask sensei, no, Kurama didn't have any influence on my affinities, they're all natural, though they will be more potent with his presence. This caused Darui to sigh. His students were going to be strong, that was a definite, but until then they were going to be everything but dull. We're almost to wave, a couple more minutes and you should be able to see the shoreline, said the boat owner as he steered the boat towards a tunnel opening in the distance. When they exited the tunnel, they were met with the sight of a starving village. Houses and buildings were in ruins, stores had barely anything in stock to sell, and people were living on the streets with rags for clothes. Man, the mission file said the village was in bad shape. But I didn't think this bad, said Kari as she looked around the village with sorrow-filled eyes. Yeah, Wave has been like this ever since Gateau arrived and started draining the village of everything. That's why Tazuna-san is building the bridge, to help connect Wave to the mainland so that they have another way to get trade and ship goods in and out, said the boatman as he turned his boat around and started to head back to the mainland once the shinobi got off. Alright team, according to the file the client lives a little ways north of the village itself. We'll head there and meet up with him. Do you each remember the description we were given? Everyone nodded and they started making their way towards their client's house. It was a little while later when they were nearing Tazuna's home that they heard the sounds of battle. Once they got closer they decided to observe from the shadows. They stopped in a tree about 30 yards away and took in everyone present. The first one they noticed was an older man wearing a brown shirt and tan pants with a straw hat on. He had small glasses resting on his nose and a gray goatee and traveling pack on his back. He matched the description of their client Tazuna to a T. That's definitely the man who sent the mission request, but who are the shinobi with him? Asked Darui aloud as he and his team looked over the rest of the people present. It was obviously a genin team, judging from their age. The first one was a boy about Naruto's height. He had black hair that looked like a duck's ass in the back. His onyx black eyes were watching the battle that was taking place intently. He had on a blue high-collared shirt that had what appeared to be a red and white fan on the back, with white shorts. On his right thigh was his shuriken holster, and he had a pack on the back of his right hip along with white arm warmers. What caught their attention though was the headband he had on. It was the symbol of Konoha. Oh shit, Konoha, this complicates things. I just hope Naruto will be alright, thought Darui as he looked at his successor. His teammates must have had similar thoughts because Karui put her hand on his shoulder for support, while Yujito moved and wrapped her arm around him and laid her head on his shoulder, hoping to keep him calm. The second genin was a kunoichi, but even from her appearance they could tell she was weak. She had long pink hair and had her headband tied on top of her head keeping her hair back. She wore a red short-sleeved dress that went down to her knees and opened on the sides to allow mobility. Underneath she wore black skin-tight shorts and had her shuriken holster on her right thigh. The last member of the team was another kunoichi, and like the first she looked weak. She had long blonde hair that was up in a ponytail that reached her waist. She wore a two-piece purple outfit, with bandages wrapped around her thighs and midsection. She had arm warmers on and had her shuriken holster on her right thigh like her teammates. She wore her headband like a belt around her midsection. She was currently shaking while she watched the battle that was unfolding. Her pink-haired friend wasn't doing any better. The jounin that was currently engaged in the fight wore the standard jounin attire for Konohagakure. He had a mask that covered most of his face except for his eyes. His headband was on his forehead and his right eye was currently closed, while his left eye, which was blood red with 3 tomos surrounding the pupil, was open and watching his opponent. The man he was fighting had blue pinstripe pants on. He didn't have a shirt on, only a holster for the zanbato he was currently fighting with. He had bandages wrapped around his face that covered everything from his nose down to his neck. His headband was turned on the side of his head and the symbol for Kirigakure with a slash through it. You have got to be kidding me. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the mist, and Sharingan Kakashi. This just went from C rank to freaking A rank. Darui screamed in his head. It was at this point that 2 Saban embedded themselves in Zabuza's neck and he fell over lifeless. A hunter nin came out of the tree he was hiding in and walked over to the body. Focusing chakra into their ears, they listened in on what was being said. Thank you for your assistance. I have been tracking Zabuza for some time now, waiting for the opportunity to kill him, said the hunter nin as he jumped down to the body after Kakashi checked for a pulse. As for you in the trees, why don't you come out? There's no point in hiding anymore. This made the Kumo team tense, but jumped from their hiding spots anyway. The Konoha team was shocked when they appeared. Where the hell did they come from? Thought Sakura and Ino at the same time. What? I didn't even sense them. How is that possible? I'm an Uchiha. An elite shinobi, thought Sasuke as the Kumo team approached Tazuna. Tazuna, I presume, we are the team from Kumo you requested. It appears though you already have some protection, mind explaining yourself? Said Darui as he and his team completely ignored the genin, but kept a close eye on Kakashi, who was looking at Naruto intently. Blonde hair, blue eyes, 3 whisker marks on his cheeks. Could it be him? Kakashi's thoughts were going crazy trying to figure out if this boy in front of him was truly his sensei's son. Tazuna meanwhile came up with a crap-ass excuse for having sent a request to 2 villages. While all of this was going on, the hunter-nin left with the body, though this was noticed by everyone but the Konoha genin. Well, why don't we head to Tazuna's house? We can decide what to do there. Darui sighed while Kakashi lowered his headband back over his Sharingan and nodded in agreement. He's right. We can rest and make a decision later. Now come on, let's get going. With that they started making their way towards Tazuna's. While they walked, Kakashi noticed there was an obvious tension in the air that only seemed to become even more pronounced with the occasional slip of killing intent coming from the blonde boy with the Kumo team. He did notice that the only thing that seemed to calm him was his other blonde teammate's presence, or touch. Once they made it back to Tazuna's house, they were greeted by Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, and his grandson Inari, who seemed to glare at the shinobi for no reason. Both teams now sat in the living room across from one another. Everyone seemed to be glaring at something or the other. Sasuke was glaring at Naruto, for the obvious power he had, if the thickness and concentration of his killing intent was anything to go by. Sakura and Ino were both glaring at Naruto because Sasuke was. Karui was glaring at Ino and Sakura for glaring at her friend for no reason. Yujito was glaring at all 3 of them for what their village did to her Naruto. Naruto, however, was looking at the ground with cold blood-red eyes as he fought to control his anger. The only thing that stopped him from killing the 3 Konoha genin before him was the calming words of Kurama and the gentle and loving touch of the girl he was in love with. Their senseis were outside deciding what should be done about the mission. It had been a few minutes since they left, and things were about to come to a head between the 2 teams when Sasuke looked like he was going to make a comment. But thankfully, for the team from Konoha, it was averted by the return of their senseis. Darui and Kakashi sensed the obvious tension in the air and knew that their decision would only help to escalate it. Well, we've decided to work together until the end of this mission. Meaning there will be no fighting between our teams unless it is a training spar. Now why don't we introduce ourselves, alright? My name is Kakashi Hataki, Jounin of Konohagakure, said Kakashi as he looked at the Kumo team. Turning to his students, he motioned for them to do the same. Sasuke Uchiha, heir of the Uchiha clan, growled out Sasuke. Sakura Haruno, heiress to the Haruno clan, said Sakura with a slight venom and fear in her voice. Ino Yamanaka, heiress to the Yamanaka clan, said Ino as she tried and failed to hide the fear in her voice. I'm Darui, Jounin of Kumogakure, and sensei to Team 20, said Darui, surprising the Konoha genin. They had no idea that there are that many active teams in Kumo. Darui nodded towards his team who returned the gesture. I'm Karui, said Karui in a monotone. Yujito ni, Yujito said in a similar voice. Kakashi looked at Naruto with anxiousness written on his face. This was the moment of truth. Was his sensei's son still alive or not? Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, said Naruto not looking up from the floor. Kakashi was floored. His sensei's son was alive, and he knew of his parentage. Sakura, Ino, and Sasuke were shocked. This person was related to their 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Sakura, being the ever-annoying banshee of the team, decided to ask what was on all their minds, and by ask, I mean screech. Namikaze? What are you talking about? The only Namikaze was our 4th Hokage, and he didn't have any family or children. Even if he did, they would be from Konoha, not Kumo, she said, spitting the word Kumo like it was poison. Then you are as stupid as you are weak and useless, said Naruto, still not meeting anyone's gaze. Sakura was about to screech at him, until he lifted his head and met the Konoha's team's gaze, causing all of them to freeze. Naruto's eyes were blood red with a slit pupil. The eyes were so cold and uncaring and filled with almost unbridled hatred, and all of it was directed towards them. Naruto, what has happened to you? Thought Kakashi as he watched Yujito move closer to him and wrapped him in a hug. This had an immediate effect on him. His eyes returned to their usual vibrant blue and he visibly relaxed. Well, with that out of the way, we need to come up with a plan of action. Zabuza is still alive and that hunter-nin is without a doubt his accomplice, said Kakashi as Sakura and Ino's eyes widened with this revelation. What? But Kakashi-sensei, that hunter-nin killed him, didn't he? Asked Sakura, obvious fear in her voice. No, he didn't. If you had been paying attention you would have noticed that the hunter-nin used Senbon. Not something that is normally used to kill someone, said Naruto as he turned to looked at the Konoha genin before turning back to his sensei. Sasuke was again glaring at Naruto for noticing something he and Uchiha didn't. Their sensei must have taught him all this. I'll make their sensei train me in everything he knows. He should be honored to train an Uchiha. Yes, well, since we're going to be working together, why don't we have a little team spar to get a feel for each other's abilities, shall we? Said Kakashi as he led his team outside with Darui and his squad following. It was a few minutes later that they arrived at a sizable clearing where they could train. Okay, well, how about Karui and Ino? Go first, said Kakashi as the Kunoichi and the Kunoichi wannabe walked to the center of the clearing. You're going down. I was the best Kunoichi in the academy, said Ino boastfully. Whatever, just shut up, said Carrie as she charged Ino and unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks on the poor girl. With one final kick, Ino was sent flying into a tree unconscious. Man, Konoha's standards for kunoichi have sure fallen if she was the best of your class. Okay, well next Yujito and Sakura, you're up, said Darui, as he signaled to her not to go all out and finish it fast like Karui. Nodding in acknowledgement, Yujito sank into her stance and waited for Sakura to make the first move. She didn't have to wait long, as the pink-haired girl charged with a sloppy punch. Swatting away the poor excuse for an attack, Yujito copied Karui and sent Sakura crashing into a tree with a kick to the midsection and walked back over to her team. Well, last but not least, Naruto and Sasuke, said Kakashi, while the two shinobi walked into the center of the clearing and watched each other carefully. Neither moved for a few minutes until Sasuke shot forward with a punch aimed for Naruto's face. Naruto didn't move until the punch was mere centimeters from his face. Turning to the side, Naruto avoided the punch by mere inches. Surprised by the move, Sasuke was thrown off balance and paid the price for it. Naruto raised his knee and delivered a strong but painful blow to Sasuke's solar plexus. Sasuke dropped to his knees gasping for breath from the blow, giving Naruto an easy target to deliver an elbow to the back of his head, sending him into the ground in unconsciousness. Sakura and Ino, who had just regained consciousness in time to see the end of the fight, were stunned. Sasuke Uchiha, the Rookie of the Year and the last loyal Uchiha to Konoha, was just defeated almost effortlessly by some no-name from Kumo. Kakashi was in no better shape, though he hit it better. Naruto Namikaze, his sensei's legacy, and the boy everyone in Konoha thought to be dead, had just defeated the village's most prized genin in a matter of seconds. This year's Chunin exams are going to be interesting, thought Kakashi as he picked up his student and put him by his team. Well, that was interesting. How about once Sleepyhead here wakes up we start training them, shall we? Darui nodded in agreement. He was proud of his team's growth and they weren't even showing their true capabilities yet. After another 10 minutes, Sasuke finally woke up and was furious that some no-name from Kumo had defeated him so easily. It took Kakashi holding him back, and Darui threatening to kill him if he attacked his student, to keep him from attacking Naruto. Alright, now that everyone is ready we'll begin our training. What I'm going to teach you is how to climb trees, said Kakashi to his team while he demonstrated it by walking up a tree, to the amazement of his genin. He hasn't even taught them the tree climbing exercise yet? Man, it's no wonder these guys are so weak, they can't do the basics of chakra control, was the shared thought between all the members of Team 20 and the two Bijou on the team. Kakashi saw the looks on everyone's faces and noticed the Kumo team was looking at him strangely, so they already know this exercise. Well, you know what my team is learning, do yours need to work on this exercise as well? Asked Kakashi. Sasuke smirked at this. Here was his chance to show this Kumo team who was the superior shinobi. Similar thoughts were going through Sakura's and Ino's heads as well. Only theirs were revolving around their Sasuke-kun showing up the Kumo losers and proving they were better. No, my team already knows this basic exercise, said Darui as his squad all walked up some trees behind him, stopping near the middle of them to face the surprised Konoha genin. I'll be taking them to train separately for now. Starting tomorrow we will begin rotation on who guards Tazuna. We'll take the first shift tomorrow. Darui walked away with his team in tow, leaving behind a guilt-filled Kakashi, a shocked Ino and Sakura, and a furious Sasuke, with Team 20. When they were far enough away, Darui turned to his team and motioned for them to sit down. Okay team, first I'll be showing each of you a jutsu I want you to learn. Carrie, this is a water technique you'll be working on, said Darui as he started going through hand signs before finishing in the bird sign, water style, water wall jutsu. A wall of water rose from the surface of the lake and surrounded Darui. This is a defensive jutsu. We don't know what Zabuza's accomplice is capable of, so we won't be taking any chances. When they strike again, Carrie, it'll be up to you to provide support and defense for the injured as well as Tazuna. Yujito, you'll act as a true assassin and try and take out either Zabuza or his apprentice, whichever provides an opening first, but you're also to give support to Carrie if need be. Naruto, you'll be our heavy hitter on this one. You'll engage the fake hunter Nin directly, but engage with caution, find out what he can do and then strike. None of you are to reveal much about your abilities unless absolutely necessary, understand? Said Darui in an oddly serious voice. All three nodded and he looked to Yujito before speaking again. Alright Yujito, I'll be showing you one of the few fire jutsu I know, he said, going through hand signs again. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Taking a deep breath, Darui put his right hand to his lips before exhaling a giant ball of fire over the lake. This is an offensive jutsu that will deter any attacker, unlike Kakashi apparently. I want you to able to truly protect yourself should things get hairy, said Darui as he looked at his students like one would a family. Naruto, I'll be teaching you two new jutsu, one for your wind affinity and a new lightning technique. First the wind jutsu, he started going through hand signs again. Wind style, great breakthrough. Darui once again brought his right hand to his mouth, but this time instead of a giant ball of fire, it was a powerful gust of wind that parted the water slightly when it passed over the lake. The great breakthrough can be used either as an offensive, defensive, or support jutsu. The reason I'm teaching you this jutsu is most of your other jutsu are either mid to long range. This jutsu should give you enough space to use another jutsu to attack. The lightning one is this, lightning style, lightning slash, said Darui once he finished hand signs again. His right hand erupted with lightning, swinging his hand down. Darui let loose a wave of lightning at a tree that was cut clean in half, while the two pieces sparked with electricity. This jutsu, depending on how much chakra you put into it, and how much you condense it, can cut clean through anything, or can paralyze a target for transportation and capture. Get to work, I'll be here if you need any help. With that, Team 20 began training to master their new jutsus and prepare for Zabuza's arrival. A week later, in the week that passed, the tension between the two teams only seemed to increase. It started with the damnable Uchiha, demanding that they give him their power, claiming he deserved it more than they did because he was an Uchiha elite. That interaction ended with Naruto punching Sasuke through a wall. Now that didn't sit well with Sakura and Ino as they tried to beat Naruto for harming their Sasuke-kun. They didn't get close enough to even carry out their threat before Yujito and Karui had them pinned with kunai to their necks. Kakashi, surprisingly, threatened to drop his team from the ninja program if they tried something stupid like that again. Another incident occurred when Team 20 caught Sasuke trying to spy on their training. That ended with Darui putting Sasuke into a genjutsu that kept him asleep for a day. Needless to say, he wasn't happy when he woke up. Currently, the teams were having a small breakfast before they all were going to protect Tazuna at the bridge. Before they left, Darui had his team make some clones to guard the house. Each made a lightning clone, or in Yujito's case a fire clone. Once the house was secure, they made their way to the bridge, preparing for the fight they all knew was coming. When they reached the bridge, they found all of the workers unconscious and sprawled all over the bridge. A thick mist started to descend on the bridge, and out of it stepped Zabuza and the fake Hunter Nin. Well, we meet again, Kakashi. I've been waiting for this rematch. You, however, I'm not familiar with. Mind introducing yourself? I prefer to know the names of my opponents, said Zabuza as he pulled his zanbato from his back and laid it on his shoulder. Man, this is dull. But yeah, I'm Darui of Kumo, said Darui in his usual bored tone that reminded the Konoha genin of a certain Nara. Zabuza's eyes widened when Darui introduced himself. It can't be, said Zabuza softly, his eyes going wide. Darui, as in Darui of the Black Lightning? Haku, finish the brats quickly and give me a hand when these two. I think we might actually have a hard fight ahead of us. So you know of me, how dull. Oh well, now I don't have to hide my abilities, said Darui as he reached for his own sword. Kakashi raised his headband revealing his Sharingan. He turned to his team and told them to guard Tazuna. Maybe taking this job wasn't such a great idea, thought Zabuza while he shifted into a fighting stance. Naruto, you know what to do. Yujito, Karui, be at the ready, said Darui as Naruto shot forward to engage the masked ninja. Said ninja jumped to avoid the blonde's initial strike, but noticed the Uchiha coming at him now. Blocking his kunai with a saban, Haku spoke to them in a monotone. Forgive me, but I must kill you. With that he started making one-handed hand signs. Naruto, seeing this, jumped away from the ninja, while Sasuke tried to force the ninja back. Finishing his hand signs, Haku stomped on the ground, splashing some of the water the mist created into the air, where it turned into needles and froze. Ice style. Ice needle rain. The needles shot towards Sasuke, who just barely got out of the way in time. A nice user, this should be interesting, thought Naruto before he threw two kunai at Haku's unguarded back, only to have them blocked by two Senbon. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. Came the voice of Sasuke from the other side of their masked opponent. Both spun around in time to see a massive ball of fire coming at the both of them. That son of a bitch knew I was in the path of his jutsu and he still attacked. If this Hokage doesn't kill him, then I will, screamed Naruto in his head while he avoided the fireball. Leave some for me, kid. That prick will pay for trying to attack us, came the enraged voice of Naruto's demonic tenant. So you will not give up, I have no choice then. The masked shinobi began going through more hand signs. Ice style. Crystal ice mirrors. The water on the bridge rose and formed a dome of mirrors around the two genin. Haku stepped into one of the mirrors and suddenly his reflection appeared in all of them. This is my jutsu, I'm sorry but you must die. With that a shower of saban shot at the two genin. Kurama, I need to borrow your eyes, screamed Naruto to his nine-tailed friend. You got it, kid. As soon as Kurama finished, Naruto closed his eyes and felt the familiar prickling in his eyes signaling the change. When he opened them his eyes were now blood red with a black vertical slit down them and the scara had turned black. Everything slowed down instantly, almost to the point of stopping. Pulling a kunai, Naruto started blocking or dodging all of the kunai that were coming his way. Damn it, if only I had my Sharingan, thought Sasuke as he tried to dodge and block the Senbon coming towards him. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't doing too well. He was able to dodge or block a good number of Senbon, but he couldn't get them all and quite a few found their mark on his body. We need to get out of here and fast. But how? Thought Naruto as he continued to block or dodge the Senbon being thrown at him, before an idea struck. It probably won't work, but what the hell, let's try it. He ducked under another deadly needle and started performing hand signs for a jutsu Yujito taught him during their training while still weaving in and out of the flying needles. Finishing the set of signs with his hands in the tiger sign, he jumped towards the nearest mirror hoping this plan would work. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Releasing the giant ball of fire at almost point-blank range sent Naruto skidding back towards the center of the dome. The jutsu unfortunately just glanced off of the mirror, barely even scratching the surface. So the mirrors are reinforced with chakra. It is useless, nothing can destroy these mirrors, said Haku still in his monotone. Hey Kurama, care to help me shut this guy up? Naruto asked demonic tenant. Sure thing kid, let's show this guy what we're made of, was the reply he got from his first true friend. Naruto closed his eyes in concentration. Haku, seeing an opening, was about to launch another hail of Saban down on the blonde, but his movements halted when red chakra suddenly erupted from every point on the blonde's body. All life seemed to stop its movements at the feeling of fear and death that suddenly filled the area. Haku was frozen in place with 3 Saban in between his fingers when he felt the aura the chakra was producing. For a brief second he thought he saw his life flash before his eyes. Sasuke was the closest to Naruto, and so was getting the full effect of the deadly aura. He started to sweat profusely and his knees buckled under his weight. He tried to get back on his feet, only to fall onto his backside in the process. When he looked up to find the source, he saw his brother Itachi standing over his dead father and mother with his blood-covered swords still in his hands. Sakura and Ino were both on the ground shaking like leaves in the wind. If it weren't for the fact that they were holding on to one anther, they both would have been laying on the ground from the feeling in the air. As it is, they were probably going to end up on the ground anyway because they looked about ready to pass out. Kakashi was concerned. He could feel the aura of death and malice in the air and knew exactly what was causing it. Unlike most of the people on the bridge, he wasn't too affected by the feeling in the air since he had faced the real thing, and what was being given off was considerably less potent. The seal hasn't been broken. The feeling is too diluted for it to be the fox itself. It must be Naruto, but when did he learn to harness its power? Zabuza was frozen in shock. He could tell the feeling in the air was coming from some sort of chakra, but what shocked him was that the feeling the chakra was giving off was even more potent and deadly than his own. This feeling of death, it's even greater than what my own chakra gives off. It's even greater than the 4th Mizukage, Yugura's chakra. If this chakra is coming from one of those brats, then Haku is as good as dead, and I probably won't be far behind him. Darui and Karui were concerned. Naruto hardly ever used Kurama's chakra in a fight unless it was training. For him to use Kurama's chakra in a fight, no matter how small, means that one of 3 things has happened. First, the opponent is truly strong and Naruto felt they deserved to see him at his best. Second, he was in tight squeeze and everything he's tried to get out of it has failed. Third, his opponent threatened Yujito. If it was the third option, then things were about to very dangerous, very fast. Yujito was rooted in place at the feeling that was in the air. She knew it was Naruto who causing it, but the aura of death wasn't what had her rooted in place. No, it was feeling that the aura was having on her body. She couldn't explain it, but the feeling of dominance and absolute power that her teammate was emitting was really turning her on. Her tenant wasn't exactly helping in the matter either. Damn it, kitten, I swear if you don't hurry up and get in his pants, I'm going to take over and do it myself. I may like to be submissive, but damn it, I have needs to kitten and I want my Kyuku in time and I want it now. The feeling of death only seemed to increase, as well as Yujito's rising arousal, as Naruto focused and concentrated all of the chakra into his right fist. Once the chakra was ready, Naruto launched forward and threw his fist towards the same mirror he used his jutsu on. Haku expected the punch be useless against his jutsu, but was shocked when the blonde's punch shattered the mirror. Taking advantage of his opponent's momentary state of shock, Naruto grabbed the emo by the collar and sprinted through the opening he created and regrouped with his teammates. Haku released his jutsu and prepared to attack them, when he noticed one of the blonde girls was missing. He didn't have time to react, however, before a blade pierced his throat. Don't mess with Kumo shinobi, we never leave our opponents alive, said Yujito from behind the boy. I can't believe I was able to concentrate enough to kill him. As soon as we get back to Tazuna's house, I'm heading straight to the bathroom. No way in hell am I doing anything with Kari in the same room, thought Yujito while she removed her kunai from Haku's throat and moved back to her team, while Haku's lifeless corpse slumped to the ground. Ino and Sakura stared at her. They couldn't believe she had just killed someone without as much as a second thought, combined with the lingering effects of the chakra from before they were barely holding on to the conscious plane. Sasuke, on the other hand, was furious that these Kumo bastards were able to fend off and kill someone when he couldn't. While the lingering effects from Kurama's chakra had Sakura and Ino wanting to faint, it only helped to increase his rage at the obvious power this team had. Seems like your accomplice has been killed. Why don't you just surrender before we have to kill you as well, said Darui while he and Zabuza locked blades. Zabuza though just laughed, before breaking away from the struggle and going for another strike only to have blocked. He may still be shaken from the effects of the chakra from earlier, but he wouldn't let his opponents know that. It doesn't matter, Haku was nothing more than a tool for me to use. His death means nothing to me. This made Darui's blood boil. He despised people who treated others like they were trash or nothing but a pawn to be thrown away when it was useless. This was why he had such a strong, if well concealed, hatred of Konohagakure, They had treated his prized student, his successor, his little brother like he was lower than dirt. Both turned their attention to the sound of chirping birds, only to see Kakashi with lightning visible in his hand. Knowing what the jutsu was from Kakashi's profile in the bingo book, Darui broke away from Zabuza and went through hand signs as fast as possible. Lightning style, lightning paralysis. Darui rushed and struck Zabuza with his lightning-encased hands. Zabuza was paralyzed before he knew what happened. Kakashi saw the opening his fellow jounin had created and charged at the prone Zabuza. Time slowed down for Zabuza, as the deadly jutsu neared him, and for the first time since he graduated from the academy, Zabuza felt fear wash over him. He killed his entire graduating class without batting an eyelash, killed countless people without a second thought, faced down the fourth Mizukage and got away alive. But now it was clear, he was going to die and there wasn't any chance of him surviving. Kakashi ran his hand through Zabuza's heart, killing him instantly. Pulling his hand from the corpse, Kakashi watched as it fell to the ground, its eyes still open with the look of fear forever etched into them. He and Darui made their way over to their teams to make sure they were all right. Other than Sasuke having the wounds from the Samban attack, and his severely hurt ego, everyone was relatively unharmed. Sakura and Ino were shaken from the events, but given time and someone to talk to they would be fine. The two teams were preparing to leave with Tazuna, who had miraculously stayed conscious from exposure to Kurama's power, when they heard the sound of clapping coming from the end of the bridge. The mist that had been dissipating since Zabuza's death finally cleared, revealing a small army of bandits and thugs with a short man with balding gray hair wearing a black business suit, standing in front of them. Gato, Tazuna growled out. Tazuna, why don't you just surrender and die already? Said Gato as the bandits behind him let vicious smirks cross their lips at the thought of finally getting to kill something. Go to hell, Gato! Screamed Tazuna in defiance. Gato only sighed and shook his head, before turning to the army behind him. Kill them all, but leave the girls, they should be entertaining to break. Gato allowed a lecherous grin to cross his face as he turned back to the shinobi and looked at Yujito with his grin turning into a twisted smirk. The bandits gave similar grins before they prepared to charge, but they never got the chance before time seemed to slow down, and the air itself seemed to freeze and die with the aura of death that suddenly covered the bridge. The shinobi turned to the source of the killing intent only to meet a very pissed-off Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Naruto currently had his arm around Yujito, while he watched the army with as much hatred he could muster, which was quite a bit considering how much killing intent he was leaking out. His eyes had once again become the blood red with slitted pupil, but this time the scara stayed white, but there was something different this time. His eyes were much colder, and held nothing but death in them, death that was directed at Gato and his thugs. Kurama, give me everything you can. This bastard is going to die. Do it, Kit, he threatened both of our mates. Make him pay, Kit, screamed Kurama as he gave his host every ounce of chakra he could without causing them to go berserk. Naruto was soon covered in his three-tailed chakra cloak. While it would normally cause him some slight pain, it appeared that Gato had caused him to unconsciously grow to a level that he could use 3 tails, almost 4 without a chance for self-harm or going berserk. You'll pay for that, Gato, Naruto said in a blood-chilling voice with such a powerful demonic edge that without his human appearance, he could be mistaken for an actual demon. Team 7 was scared out of their minds. Naruto was letting off a huge amount of killing intent, and the air was once again filled with the same aura of death from before. Sasuke, Sakura and Ino were rooted on the spot. Never before had they felt such power, and at the same time, such fear. It was only a few seconds after they were exposed to this power that the inevitable happened. Sakura and Ino each passed out, while Sasuke fell to his knees, breathing heavily and barely clinging to consciousness. Darui and Kari were worried. The amount of power Naruto was giving off was getting dangerously close to the amount he could use before he went berserk. They both knew that the second Gato finished his sentence he had signed his death warrant. What they didn't know was how harshly Naruto would react to this threat. It was blatantly obvious that Naruto loved Yujito, but they had no idea how deep his love for her ran. It seemed they would soon learn. The only one who didn't seem even a little put off by the power and killing intent Naruto was giving off was Yujito. In fact, she was feeling the exact opposite to what everyone else was feeling. She felt safe and protected, like nothing bad could happen to her so long as Naruto was with her. She wasn't the only one who was being affected this way from the power Naruto was giving off. Matatabi was a quivering mess. She was so turned on, and for the first time she couldn't make any comment about getting Naruto alone and just having him, though Yujito's own thoughts were doing that for her. Naruto removed his arm from Yujito and began walking towards the still frozen army of bandits. A looming figure seemed to form from the power in the air, and everyone present was scared even more than they were before. Above Naruto, staring intently at the new souls it would soon devour, was an image of the Shinigami himself, his spiky white hair contrasting greatly with his pale, peeling gray skin. Drawing his ninjato, Naruto formed a one-handed sign, and the head of the fox on the sword opened and flames engulfed the blade. Raising the blade over his shoulder, Naruto swung his sword towards the group of thugs, letting loose a wave of burning death at them. Gato, seeing the danger, ran to the back of his little army to get away. The thugs at the front of the army, however, were burned to a crisp. They didn't even have a chance to scream before their bodies were turned to ash. Taking advantage of their momentary distraction, Naruto shot forward with his sword at his side. As he neared the army, the flames around his sword intensified and turned black from the power behind them. Once he reached the army, Naruto began fighting his way through them, slicing and killing any and all who got in his way from reaching his target, Gateau. When he finally reached the short businessman, he didn't hesitate and beheaded him without a second thought. The thugs froze when they saw their meal ticket die. That, however, was replaced by anger in the next second. "You bastard, you killed our meal ticket! Now you're gonna pay, brat, and once we're done with you we'll have some fun with those girls, especially that blonde girlfriend of yours," said one of the thugs while the others shouted their agreement. This pushed Naruto over the edge as his cloak grew a fourth tail, and he let out a menacing roar that seemed to echo for miles. The thugs were again frozen as the feeling of death increased 100-fold. Some of the weaker ones were being driven insane from the exposure and were killing themselves just to escape it. He turned to look at the remaining thugs and didn't wait for a reaction. He charged into them with his sword, a blur of black flames, as he sliced and killed the remaining thugs. Kakashi was stunned. His little brother was killing hundreds of thugs like it was nothing. What scared him a little, though, was the fact that his teammates and sensei didn't seem to faze that he was killing so easily, or that he was using the fox's chakra. Gary and Karui seemed slightly worried, though. Sasuke was scared. He had been trying to figure out how strong Naruto was by challenging him to fights and spying on his training. Right now, though, he seemed to have gotten his answer. Naruto was fighting off and killing an entire army of thugs single-handedly. He was suddenly hit with a feeling of pure and utter helplessness. As he continued to watch the massacre happening before him, he couldn't help but remember the only other time he had ever felt truly helpless: the night his brother slaughtered their clan. Naruto now stood in the middle of what could only be described as a bloodbath. Bodies, limbs, organs and blood littered the end of the bridge. Not a single thug was left alive after Naruto's assault. Sheathing his ninjato, he made his way back towards his team and enveloped Yujito in a hug, though he had to hold her up as her knees gave out the second his skin touched hers, and whispered in her ear. "No one will ever lay a hand on you so long as I'm here," he whispered. This only caused her to hold on to him tighter and let a small smile grace her face. Smiling at the scene before him, Gary decided to speak up. "Well, why don't we head on back to Tizuna's? I think we all deserve a nice long rest after today." Everyone nodded in agreement, and Kakashi made 2 clones to carry Sakura and Ino, who were still out cold. A week later, Team 20 and Team 7 now stood at the end of the completed bridge, ready to return to their respective homes. Before them was over half of Wave's population, saying goodbye and giving their thanks to them. At the head of the Wave group was none other than Tizuna and his family. "Thank you all for your help in completing the bridge. Wave will always be indebted to you for your help. Once we have the money, I'll send the full mission payment to each of your villages," said Tizuna, with gratitude filling his voice. Team 20 smiled at the praise and nodded in acceptance. Team 7 on the other hand smirked like they had done all the work, and deserved this kind of respect more often. Kakashi sighed as he knew if he couldn't break them of that, then they were doomed to fail one day soon. "Don't worry about it, Tizuna. Just do what you can and rebuild Wave to its previous glory," said Naruto as he and his team turned and started making their way back to their village. Team 7 followed soon after and set off in another direction back to Konoha. "Hey Tizuna, what are we gonna call the bridge?" asked a random villager as they watched their saviors walk away. "How about the Great Naruto Bridge? In honor of the man who rid this country of a tyrant," said Tizuna, getting cheers and shouts of joy from the villagers. "That boy, he'll go far. It was an honor to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze," thought Tizuna as he watched Naruto and his team disappear over the horizon. It was almost sundown before Team 20 saw the mountains that their village was built on through the trees as they continued jumping through the trees. "We're finally home," said Karui with a small smile. They had been moving almost nonstop since they left Wave. Gary didn't want to take the chance of Konoha sending anyone after them for Naruto, and Naruto wanted to hurry and get home so he could begin training in his clan's sealing techniques. "Yeah, it'll be dull, but once we get back to the village we will report directly to boss and give our report. After that, Naruto, Yujito, go find B and work with your tenants. Karui, you'll be coming with me for some kenjutsu training," said Darui while his team nodded, though slightly confused. "Darui-sensei, why do you want us to start so much training all of a sudden?" asked Yujito, while Karui and Naruto nodded their heads in agreement. Darui sighed at this. He knew his team wouldn't let the sudden increase in their training go unnoticed or unquestioned, and the reason behind it would probably piss them off. "Because the Chunin exams are approaching and I want all of you to be prepared," said Darui, hoping the answer would satisfy his team. His hopes were for naught though. His team just gave him even more confused and questioning looks. They were already at a level that they could easily pass the Chunin exams. Naruto's face suddenly darkened as a thought struck. "Crap, looks Naruto might have figured it out," thought Darui with a grimace as his only male student turned to look at him. "The Chunin exams are in Konoha this year, aren't they?" he asked with a scowl. Karui and Yujito adopted looks of understanding for a split second, before they were replaced with scowls at the thought of Konoha, and concerned looks towards their blonde teammate. "Yes, Naruto, they are in Konoha this year. While I would like to keep you from taking them until they were held elsewhere or here in Kumo, I can't. It is in the village's best interest to show that we are still strong by sending powerful representatives to exams such as these. You three are one of the best teams to ever come from our village. Your potential is probably on par with that of Kakashi's when he was younger. While a shinobi's most important weapon is deception, it is also crucial for a village to make its strength known to scare off other countries and villages from attacking and to help prevent war. Because of that, I will nominate you three for the exams, but we will not be doing many missions when we return, only enough for you to participate in the exams. For the next 3 months I will be training you into the ground to prepare you for anything that might happen during the exams. Understand, said Darui with all signs of his laid-back nature gone, replaced with that of a battle-hardened shinobi who wanted to protect those dear to him. Naruto and his teammates nodded in understanding. They needed to be strong to survive the exams and to defend themselves from anything Konoha might try to get the heir of Minato Namake's back. They reached the village gates a few minutes afterward and wasted no time in getting to the Raikage's office to give their report. When they arrived, they found the Raikage in the mission room with a few Chunin and Jounin assisting him with mission reports and assigning missions. Hey boss, mission to protect bridge builder Tazuna completed, though there were some complications, said Darui when he and his team were in front of the Raikage. What kind of complications? Asked the Raikage with a raised eyebrow. Not much could go wrong on a C-rank mission. Well, for one, the client lied about the mission importance. The requested protection from thugs and bandits was false. The client had ninja out to kill him, said Darui, catching the attention of many in the room. This alone made the mission B rank, but it became an A rank when we encountered Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the mist and an accomplice of his. This made many in the room go wide-eyed. Zabuza and the other 7 swordsmen were respected and feared in Kumo for their mastery of Kenjutsu. For a rookie genin team to face him, and not only survive but win, was unheard of. Also, it turns out the client requested help from another village as well. On our way to rendezvous with the client, we came across another genin team guarding him while their jounin engaged Zabuza. What village were they from? Asked A, hoping it wasn't who he thought it was. Like Darui though, his hopes were for naught. They were from Konoha no Sato, said Naruto with a slight growl in his throat. This made everyone in the room, even a few jounin and chunin about to leave for a mission, go rigid. If Konoha found out that the only son of Minato Namake's and Kushina Uzumaki had joined Kumogakure, it could be potential war between the two villages. Yes, they were from Konoha. Not only that, but the sensei for the team was none other than the prized student of the 4th Hokage, the copy ninja, Kakashi Hatake, said Darui. This only increased everyone's worry of war. If anyone would recognize Naruto, it would be the last surviving student of his father. And it seemed that his team is not that skilled, which is surprising considering the composition of the team. Many raised eyebrows at this. If Kakashi was training a team, they should be the best that Konoha had to offer. Who is on his team, Darui? Asked A. Like everyone else, he thought that a team trained by Kakashi should be just as strong as Darui's team. It is comprised of Sasuke Uchiha, the sole surviving member of the Uchiha massacre and rightful heir of the Uchiha clan, Sakura Haruno, heiress of the Haruno clan who are known for their split personalities, and Ino Yamanaka, heiress of the mind-walking Yamanaka clan. Though their ancestry is well known, if a bit overplayed, their skills as shinobi and kunoichi are horrible at best. The 2 heiresses were complete and total fangirls for the Uchiha, and while the Uchiha may have skill, he is arrogant and has been spoiled by the village. He believes he deserves to have everything handed to him without question. This led to a few situations between the teams when he tried to force me to train him, and where he tried to attack Naruto. Both situations were dealt with, and avoided before they could happen. As for the mission itself, everything went smoothly for the most part. Naruto engaged Zabuza's accomplice with the Uchiha, but kept his skills hidden for the most part, while Kakashi and I engaged Zabuza and managed to kill him, said Darui. After he finished, Naruto stepped forward to give a report on his fight. Like Darui-sensei said, I engaged Zabuza's accomplice in combat with the Uchiha joining me. I hid my true skills and let the Uchiha fight to get an understanding of what both of them could do. The fight was going in our favor until our opponent used a jutsu called Crystal Ice Mirrors. The jutsu created a dome of ice mirrors around the Uchiha, and he launched a barrage of Senbon using the mirrors to increase his speed. I managed to deflect and dodge all the Senbon aimed at me, while the Uchiha was turned into a pincushion almost. After that I tried using a fire jutsu to melt the mirrors. The jutsu failed because the mirrors were reinforced with chakra. So to avoid any unnecessary death, I called on Kurama's chakra and used a chakra-enhanced punch to shatter one of the mirrors and escape with the Uchiha in tow. Once we escaped, our opponent released his jutsu and prepared to attack us, only for Yujito-chan to kill him with a kunai to the back of his throat. After both of them were killed, Gateau showed up with an army of mercenaries and threatened to kill us and have his way with Yujito, Karui and the Leaf Kunoichi. At this point Naruto started to leak some killing intent that had many on edge. They knew Naruto cared deeply for his team, especially Yujito. They feared what he would do if anyone tried to harm them. They were about to find out. Once he said that, I snapped. I accessed my cloak and charged headfirst into his army and began to decimate them with my ninjato. When I reached Gateau himself, I decapitated him without a second thought. This didn't sit well with the remainder of his army, and they started screaming about killing me and having their way with Yujito-chan. I called on Kurama's chakra again and managed to get control over the fourth tail. The flames around my sword from my previous attack intensified and I killed any remaining thugs. No one threatens Yujito-chan or Carry in my presence without consequences, he finished with a scowl on his face. To say everyone was scarred of the blonde before them would be an understatement. He was only a genin, yet he took on a defeated an army of mercenaries single-handedly. And if what he said was true, he didn't even get injured. They all made a mental note to never ever try and mess with Karui or Yujito, especially Yujito, lest they face Naruto's supreme wrath. Speaking of Yujito, she walked up to Naruto and wrapped him in a calming hug, effectively cutting off his anger and killing intent. The Raikage and his assistant sighed in relief once the killing intent stopped flowing from the blonde. Like his father before him, he is already defeating armies of opponents. I pray for the unfortunate soul that is stupid enough to insult or threaten Yujito when Naruto is near, especially if she isn't there to calm him down, thought A as he finished writing down the mission report. Alright Team 20, you're dismissed. Darui, I need a word with you, said the Raikage. Team 20 nodded and left, with Darui saying he would find them later for training. Turning to his boss, Darui had an idea as to what he wanted to talk to him about, but decided to wait for his boss to ask. Darui, as you know the Chunin exams are soon, do you believe your team is ready to take them? Yeah boss, they're more than ready for the exams, but they aren't for another 3 months and in that time I plan on training them as much as I can and they will only complete the minimum number of missions required to participate. If that's all boss, I'd better get started on their training. Oh, before I forget, B and Dodai will be busy helping me train them, so they won't be available much for the next few months, see ya, said Darui as he walked out of the office and went in search of his team to up their training. Those 3 are going to be unimaginably powerful when they reach their true potential. That is a day I cannot wait to see, thought A as he went back to assigning missions and filing the reports. The next day, Darui stood in front of refreshed and determined Team 20 with Killer B at his side. Dodai wouldn't be joining them until the end of the week. They had just finished detailing the training schedule they had designed specifically for the 3 genin, and they weren't the least bit surprised that Team 20 seemed to just take it in stride. Alright team, to start off our training each of you will be doing something different. Karui, you and I will be working on Kenjutsu, while Yujito, you will be training with B to gain some more control over Matatabi's chakra. Naruto, I want you to start reading through the scrolls you recovered from that bandit camp on our first C rank. Each of them nodded when they heard what they would be training in for today. Let's get started. That said, they all went to their own section of the training ground and began their training. Naruto sat down in the shade of a tree and unsealed the chest containing the Uzumaki clan scrolls he recovered from the bandit camp. Biting his thumb, he smeared his blood onto the seal in the center of the clan symbol and heard the click signaling the chest was unlocked. Opening the chest, Naruto mentally debated about what he should start with, before he remembered something he learned in the academy about the second Hokage wielding the Raijin. Reaching for the scroll that matched the color of his hair, Naruto again smeared some of his blood in a blood seal on the outside of the scroll before opening it to find it once again written in clean, crisp handwriting. Must have been the sealing my clan was known for. Any imperfections in even one part of the seal and the entire thing would fail, thought Naruto before he began reading the scroll with the information on the Raijin. To any future Uzumaki. My name is Totosai Uzumaki. I am the master weapons forger for the Uzumaki clan. This scroll along with its 4 brothers contains everything I know about in the art of forging as well as information about my greatest creations, the elemental swords. Just to let you know, this little intro is in all of the scrolls, so don't worry about having to read it over and over again. Now back to my reason for writing this. The elemental swords were the most prized weapons the Uzumaki had at their disposal. I was inspired to create these 5 swords when I saw the destructive power of nature while sitting outside during a maelstrom. I know what you're thinking. This guy is completely insane, but let me tell you not to knock it till you try it. Now as per the swords themselves, they are named after the 5 gods of the elements: Fujin the god of wind, Kajijin the god of fire, Suijin the god of water, Chijin the god of earth, and Raijin the god of thunder. This scroll is about the Raijin, if the name on the scroll is any indication. It is a magnificent, if a simple-looking weapon. At first glance it doesn't appear to be more than a metal handle, but when chakra is applied to it, its true form is revealed. A blade made of pure lightning surges forth from the handle, the blade it capable of cutting through almost anything, the only exceptions being its own brothers. The forging of this blade took years to complete, since the amount of power it was going to hold was so great a special, or was required to forge the handle. I spent almost an entire year trying to find the right ore that would be able to handle the concentrated power of lightning that was to be held within it. I searched relentlessly, scouring the entire nation to find such an ore. My quest ended when I discovered a vein of what I call Raikage. This unique ore was perfectly suited to be the handle for the Raijin, as the metal produced a natural current of electricity around it and stored large amounts inside of it. Once I found the Raikage, I immediately began to forge the Raijin. I finished the physical part of the sword after a year of forging, and all I had left to do was infuse it with the natural and devastating power of lightning. I knew I would not be able to complete this part of the sword on my own, so I requested the help of some of our clan's best seal masters to help me create a seal to capture the lightning and to infuse it into the Raijin. However, something strange happened when we started the process of infusing the lightning into the Raijin. A bolt of lightning, blacker than an Uchiha's eyes, came from the skies and struck the Raijin. Instead of disappearing like most lightning bolts, this one seemed to be absorbed into the Raijin. To this day I still do not know what happened. All I know is that with the absorbing of that black bolt of lightning, the Raijin was completed. Well, that's all the information about the Raijin I can give you since it's been nearly 60 years since I forged the elemental swords. The only other thing I can tell you about it is where its resting place is. High atop the mountains, in the heart of the storm, the Raijin sits, waiting to be reborn. Well, have fun. Totosai Uzumaki. That hardly explained anything about the Raijin. Oh well, take what you get, I suppose. But if what Totosai said was true, then the Raijin should have been locked away somewhere. If the second Hokage was said to wield the Raijin, then he somehow broke into an Uzumaki stronghold and took it. If that's true, then it's possible that the others were found as well. If so, then it is my duty as the last Uzumaki to reclaim them, thought Naruto before he rolled the scroll back up and placed back into the chest. Looking up briefly, he noticed that his teammates were still busy training with their senseis, so he decided to go ahead and start to learn his clan's sealing arts. Removing the large black scroll, he bit his thumb and smearing his blood over the seal in the center of the scroll. The second his blood came in contact with the seal, the scroll sprung open, revealing the beginning lessons in the Uzumaki sealing techniques. He was about to begin reading, when he noticed a small storage seal in the corner of the scroll with a chibi version of the Uzumaki who wrote this scroll pointing at it. Deciding to see what was in the seal that was so special, he unsealed whatever was inside. When the slight smoke cleared, it revealed another much smaller scroll. Opening the small scroll revealed it to be instructions for an Uzumaki clan jutsu, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Curiosity piqued, Naruto began reading through the instructions on the jutsu. What he discovered almost had him jumping around training ground 20 like a 6-year-old who just drank a gallon of coffee during Christmas. This type of clone had a memory transfer function which would allow for infiltration and information gathering missions to be that much less dangerous for his team. But he could also use the Shadow Clone Jutsu to help him train. Which is what he planned on doing the second he had it mastered. Setting the scroll down to try the jutsu for the first time, Naruto took to it like a fish to water, managing to create about 30 clones. Oh, things just got a whole lot more interesting, thought both Bijou and Jinchuriki before they dived back into learning the unique art of sealing, Uzumaki style. 3 months later, a massive crowd of people who had gathered at the main gate of the Kumo, from civilian to shinobi alike, all of them had gathered to see off one of the most promising teams to ever come from their village. Before them stood Team 20, each looking towards the crowd with determination burning in their eyes. A determination to prove themselves, and to make their village proud of them. They would become Chunin and they would bring glory to their village. At the head of the crowd stood the Raikage, with B and Dodai on his left, and Team 20's sensei on his right. Darui couldn't help but be proud of them. In the 3 months they had spent training, they had come far. Each of them was Chunin level easily, but despite what many civilians thought about the team having already reached its peak in potential, he knew that they had only scratched the tip of the iceberg. They were far from reaching their peaks. Naruto's outfit was one of the many things that changed about him during their 3 months training. He now wore Anbu-style black pants that were covered in invisible storage seals, along with a black sleeveless shirt that did nothing to hide his toned muscles. Since he had begun his training in the art of sealing, he had taken to wearing a cloak similar to his father's. Instead of a white cloak with red flames licking the bottom, he wore a high-collared blood-red cloak with 2 nine-tailed foxes on the back. The heads of the foxes were near his shoulders with mouths open, looking ready to bite into his shoulders. In between the 2 foxes was Kumo's black fox written in kanji. His ninjato was strapped to his back, and his headband was tied around his left bicep. Another thing that had changed about his appearance, though, was the additional tattoos of his arms. He still bore the kanji for lightning on his right shoulder, but under that one he bore the kanji for earth. His left shoulder held the kanji for wind with the kanji for fire under it. During the 3 months they had spent training, Naruto had mastered about half of the Uzumaki sealing basics thanks to liberal use of the shadow clone. That wasn't the only thing he focused on, if his tattoos were any indication. To bear the tattoo of your elemental nature you had to master the manipulation of the element. Like Yujito, he had trained with Dodai, Kumo's prominent lava-style user, in the manipulation of his fire and earth affinities. Training his wind affinity was the hardest one, however, as wind users were a rarity even in Suna. He had also started working on learning the techniques that the third Raikage had left with Darui to pass on to successor. While he was nowhere near mastering the 2, he had managed to use one of them, if only for a short time. As he looked out towards the crowd that had come to see them off, his right arm slipped around Yujito's waist, holding her to him. Yujito hadn't changed her appearance much. She still wore her black pants with the cloud pattern on them along with her black and purple blouse. She had black wrappings up to her elbows on both arms now, with her same purple fingerless gloves and beads wrapped around her left forearm. Her shuriken holster was attached to her right leg with her new wakizashi short sword strapped to the left side of her waist. One major difference in her appearance, however, was the addition of her purple high-collared cloak with two two-tailed cats on the back, much like Naruto's own. Naruto had given it her as a gift. When he finally asked her to be his girlfriend, they had been dating for about 2 months, and it didn't look like they planned on stopping anytime soon. During their 3 months of training, she had managed to finally use Matatabi's second tail with her chakra cloak without going berserk. On top of that, had mastered the elemental manipulation of her fire and lightning elements. But that was nothing to what Matatabi had told her. Apparently, now that she could use her two-tailed cloak form, she could start learning some of Matatabi's unique jutsu. She had spent a majority of their time training working with Matatabi learning her jutsu. When she felt her boyfriend's arm wrap around her waist, she just leaned into him and let him hold her. Karui stood smiling at the scene of her teammates in each other's arms. When they told her they were dating, her first reaction was to scream "It's about damn time" at them. She, like her team, had changed her outfit during their training. She now wore a gray high-collared shirt that opened up some in the front that looked like it had had the sleeves torn off. She had on skin-tight black shorts that reached about mid-thigh with black stockings that reached slightly past her knees. She also wore a long black skirt that reached a little past her knees and opened up in the front to allow movement. Her katana was still strapped to her back, and she still wore her headband like a bandana. Like her teammates, she hadn't been idle with her training. She had spent a lot of time training with Dari and Kenjutsu, and also working on a few techniques from her clan scrolls. She had mastered her water and lightning affinities and had increased her jutsu repertoire, giving her a good balance of water and lightning jutsu. Dari walked away from the crowd and towards his students. It was time that they left for the Chunin exams. Turning to the crowd that had gathered, he spoke in his usual bored tone. "Well, it might a little dull afterwards, but I promise you that my team will all become Chunin." This got a roar of cheers and praise from the crowd. Team 20 seemed to stand just a little bit straighter with the obvious faith and trust their village had in them. "Take care of them, Dari, and I expect to see all 3 of you in the finals of the Chunin exams," said A as Team 20 nodded in acknowledgement. B stepped forward and bent down to look Naruto and Yujito in the eyes. "Be careful, you two. Konoha already know Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, and that alone will make them come after him. Try and keep a low profile until I get to the village with Bro to watch the finals. If they learn that both of you are Jinchuriki, or they try anything to capture you, you have my permission to use your cloaks and defend yourself by whatever means necessary. Got it?" The 2 blondes nodded in agreement. They knew that if Konoha caught wind of another Jinchuriki in their village, they wouldn't hesitate to try and capture them. "All right, team, let's move," said Dari as he turned and started making his way down the mountain away from the village. Team 20 took one last look at their village before following their sensei. The crowd that had gathered watched with pride as the 3 genin made their way to the next step of their lives, the evening sun casting a soft glow around the 3. Near the Lighting Fire Country border. They had been walking for about 3 hours and they were nearing the border between Lightning Country and Fire Country, before a thought struck Naruto. "Hey Dari-sensei, how come Samui and Omoe's team isn't taking the Chunin exams with us?" This seemed to catch his teammates' attention since they turned to their sensei with confused or questioning looks. "Sure didn't think they were ready yet. Samui and Omo work well together, and their teamwork is almost flawless together, but Uzumaki will hardly cooperate with her teammates. Sure told me that she is still a diehard fangirl of yours, Naruto, and no matter what he's tried he can't seem to break her of it. That's why he didn't enter them in the Chunin exams. As a team they aren't ready," said Dari with a sigh. He felt sorry for his partner, having to put up with an annoying fangirl screaming about how their true love was going to come and sweep them off their feet. Naruto shivered slightly and stifled a growl as he remembered Uzumaki from his first day in the academy. She had insulted Yujito and tried to turn him against her. Ever since that day she had not left him alone and kept on badgering him for a date, or trying to make him quit hanging out with Yujito. There had been a few close calls when Naruto almost listened to Kurama and torn the annoying girl to shreds, but luckily Yujito, or one of their friends, had been there to stop him. Yujito and Karui scowled at the memory of Uzumaki. Yujito tightened her hold on her boyfriend's hand slightly, her possessive cat nature coming out slightly. "All right team, we'll call it a night for now and set up camp. We'll leave at first light," said Dari as he put his traveling pack on the ground and began setting up a campsite. Team 20 started doing the same, each setting up a tent of their own and placing a few traps around the camp. "Naruto, why don't you go get us some dinner? But be careful, we're close to the border and Anbu might be near." Naruto nodded his head in understanding. If Kakashi had mentioned him in his report, the Hokage would probably order anyone who spotted him to capture him alive and return him to the village. He jumped into the forest and began to hunt for something they could all eat, preferably a boar or a few rabbits. He was about to continue moving in search of something when he noticed a boar in the distance. Perfect, he thought as he approached the boar as quietly as possible. Drawing his ninjato, he channeled some of his wind chakra into it and launched a blade of wind at his prey. The boar didn't know what happened. One second it was eating grass, the next it was dead with a huge gash on its side. Naruto sealed the dead boar into a storage scroll to make it easier to get it back to the camp. He was about to start making his way back to his team when he felt multiple chakra signatures approaching. Crap, That's not my team, and with the way they're being masked, they have to be Anbu. His guess was proven correct, cause the next thing he knew he was surrounded by a squad of 4 Anbu. 3 of them wore black cloaks, while one had on a white cloak. The ones in the black cloaks had masks with the faces of a snake, a turtle, and a cat, while the one with the white cloak had a dog mask. If I remember correctly, a white cloak is the sign of an Anbu captain and black is just regular Anbu, thought Naruto, as the captain stepped forward. Naruto Uzumaki, you are to come with us at once. The voice sounded familiar to Naruto, but he couldn't quite place it. Deciding to try and bide as much time as he could, Naruto responded, I'm sorry, but I don't know anyone by the name of Naruto Uzumaki, he said, keeping all emotion out of his voice. Now, if you don't mind, I should be getting back to my team now. We have a long day ahead of us tomorrow, said Naruto as he tried to walk past the Anbu, only to be blocked by the turtle Anbu. My mistake, I mean Naruto Namikaze, you will come with us back to Konoha, said the Anbu in more forceful tone. Naruto's eyes widened slightly. He recognized that tone and the voice from his mission to Wave. Well, what do you know, Kakashi Hatake? It's been quite some time since I saw you last, said Naruto, trying and failing to hide the humor in his voice. The rest of the Anbu team flinched slightly. How did he know it was Kakashi leading this team? I'm surprised, Kakashi. I thought you had resigned from Anbu duty to train that pathetic group of brats you call a team. I was reinstated for this one mission, to rescue you from those bastards in Kumo that kidnapped you, said Kakashi as he removed his mask. All of us here were assigned to Anbu for this single mission. Remove your masks. Kakashi's squad did as instructed, and one by one they removed their masks, revealing some very familiar faces to Naruto. So, the Hokage thought that sending some of the few people I was actually close to while I was in Konoha would convince me to return to that hellhole of a village, said Naruto with venom lacing his voice, causing everyone present to flinch at the tone. Or did he send you because you're the best in your fields? He probably sent you Kurenai hoping to trap me in a genjutsu for easy transport back, right? The rest of you were probably sent to stop me if I broke out of Kurenai's genjutsu, Guy to tire me in taijutsu, Anko to track and capture me if I somehow managed to escape, and Kakashi to ID me and try and weaken me with ninjutsu as a last resort, said Naruto with a bored look. The 4 present were shocked beyond belief. Naruto had just figured out each of their roles on this team like it was nothing. Okay, I don't have a lot of time, they'll get over their shock quick. I just hope it works this time, thought Naruto as he started gathering lightning chakra all around his body. The temporary Anbu were pulled out of their shock when they heard the crackling of lightning. They looked to see the source of it being Naruto, who was encased in a coat of lighting. Not wasting any time, Naruto shot off towards his team at blinding speeds. The Anbu team didn't have a chance to react before he was already out of sight. Damn it, he got away, said Anko as she continued to look at the spot Naruto had disappeared. Yeah, but was that lightning around his body? I haven't seen anything like it before, said Kurenai, looking at her temporary captain for an answer. It's called the lightning style armor. It is one of Kumogakure's most dangerous techniques. The user focuses lightning-based chakra all around their body to stimulate the synapses and nervous system, increasing one's speed and reaction time to impossible levels. It is a jutsu only known to the Raikage of Kumo. For Naruto to know something like that, he is either the next in line for the mantle of Raikage or he has been personally trained by the Raikage. Either way, getting Naruto back in Konoha just got a whole lot harder. Kumo will never surrender someone who knows the secrets behind one of its most prized jutsu, said Kakashi as he placed his mask back on and began making his way back to Konoha, his temporary team following. Naruto was currently running towards the campsite his team set up. I can't believe them. They told me they would always do what was best for me, and they go and try to take me back to that hellhole of a village, thought Naruto as he continued through the forest. Just as he was about to cancel the jutsu, his chakra fluxed and he ended up crashing through a couple of trees and finally into his campsite. Yujito, who had been sitting with her female teammate and sensei waiting for Naruto to return with dinner, was about to suggest they go check on him since he was taking a long time when said blonde suddenly crash-landed right in front of her. Damn, I still can't get that jutsu down, mumbled Naruto as he got up and dusted himself off. Naruto, what happened? Asked Erui. He had Naruto swear he would never use that technique until he had it mastered or if he was in a desperate situation. For him to use it, and with how close they were to the border, he could take a good guess as to what happened. I had an encounter with some Konoha Anbu, said Naruto, putting his team on alert. They were being led by Kakashi Hatake, who was placed as the team captain and was there to ID me. The rest of the team was made up of jounin I was close to before I left the village. Apparently the Hokage thought that familiar faces would help to convince me to return. First was Anko Midarashi. She is the Konoha's snake mistress. She specializes in tracking, capture, and interrogation. Might Guy, Konoha's green beast, he is a taijutsu master and specialist. As far as I know, he has almost no ninjutsu, and no genjutsu whatsoever. The last member was Kurenai Yuhi, Konoha's genjutsu mistress. Like her title suggests, she is a genjutsu specialist with barely jounin level taijutsu and little to no ninjutsu, said Naruto, surprising his team. If Konoha was willing to send 4 of their best after Naruto to bring him back to their village, They needed to be extra careful and keep their eyes open for anything at all that was out of place when they reached the village. Okay, we'll deal with this later. For now let's eat and get some sleep. I'll take first watch, Naruto second, Yujito third and Karui will take the last watch, said Darui, while Naruto unsealed the boar and began preparing it to cook. They ate in silence and went to sleep afterward with Darui staying up for the first watch. Konoha no Sato main gate. The sun was just rising over the horizon, once again bringing life back the forests that surround Konoha. To Izumo Kamizuki and Kotetsu Higane it was turning out to another boring day of gate and traffic duty. Why did we ever agree to take this job? Nothing ever happens at the gate, asked Izumo as he stifled a yawn. I don't know, but I have a feeling things are about to get much more interesting very soon, said Kotetsu. Little did he know, his prediction was about to come true. Approaching over the horizon towards gates of Konoha no Sato was Team 20. Though they kept their expression neutral, inside they were all preparing for a fight. They knew Konoha would do anything to get the son of the Yellow Flash and the Red Death back, but they weren't going down without a fight. Do you all sense it? Asked Darui in a low tone, while he kept his eyes on the road ahead. Yeah, we've been under surveillance for the last hour or so. Do you think they'll make a move to grab Naruto-kun? Said Yujito, while she tightened her hold on said boy's hand. I doubt it. They've known of our presence long before we entered Fire Country, and if they wanted to make another attempt at me they would have done it as soon as we crossed the border and make it appear as though someone else did it. Not to mention they know that I have the lightning-style armor in my arsenal. It's well known that the only ones that know that jutsu are either the Raikages or the next in line for the mantle, so they probably believe I have a strong political sway in Kumo, and because of that they wouldn't dare do anything too reckless. Their next move will probably be to try and entice me back to village so they can get at least some political pull or advantage over Kumo, said Naruto, not looking away from the looming gates of the village. His team nodded in agreement. Even Konoha wouldn't be stupid enough to try something that could lead to all-out war with Kumo. Halt, what is your business here? Said Izumo. He and Kotetsu tried to look intimidating, and failing miserably. Naruto turned to look at who spoke. That voice sounds familiar. Crap. He recognized Izumo and Kotetsu from the few times they had helped him with a prank. Team 20 of Kumogakure, we're here for the upcoming Chunin exams, said Darui as he handed them a couple of papers. Izumo looked over the papers before handing them to Kotetsu, who nodded in acknowledgement. Alright, everything here is in order. We just need your names for the traffic report, said Kotetsu as he took out a pencil and a file. Team 20 all stiffened slightly. They knew this could lead to an all-out fight if things got out of hand, and they had to be ready. I'm Team 20 Sensei, Darui, said Darui, while he slowly reached for shuriken holster. Karui, Kunoichi of Team 20, said Karui as she stretched her arms so her hands were near her katana. Yujito ni, Kunoichi of Team 20, said Yujito, leaning into Naruto's left side a little more so she could reach for a kunai in secret. Naruto hesitated slightly, but put on a neutral face and spoke. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, shinobi of Team 20. This made Kotetsu and Izumo freeze. It couldn't be. The kid had disappeared 6 years ago. He couldn't be the one standing in front of them, could he? They slowly looked up to face the boy that spoke, spiky blonde hair, eyes bluer than the ocean itself, and the 3 whisker-like marks on each cheek. Their eyes kept getting wider and wider the more they looked at the boy, but when they saw the whisker marks on his cheeks, they knew it was him. Naruto, is that you? Asked Izumo barely above a whisper. Said boy nodded his head, but kept his face impassive. He may have considered them friends before he left, but he had cut all ties he had with this village, almost. Kotetsu was about to ask a question when 4 Anbu surrounded the Kumo team. The captain spoke in a demanding voice. Naruto Uzumaki, you will come with us. The Hokage wishes to speak with you. Naruto looked at the assembled Anbu and gave a small laugh before replying. Really, Kakashi? I thought we already went through this by the border, said Naruto to the dog-masked Anbu. I don't know any Naruto Uzumaki, and if your Kage wishes to speak with me then it shall be when I feel like speaking to him. I am not of this village, and I will not be ordered to do anything. The Anbu were about to make a grab for him, when they all felt the presence of their leader appear behind them. Anbu, stand down, said Hiruzen Sarutobi as he walked up to the group dressed in his Kage robes. He looked over the group with a critical eye, but stopped when his eyes landed on the familiar blonde hair of his deceased successor. Naruto, it's good to see you again. Where have you been, my boy? Naruto didn't respond, he only looked the Hokage with a blank stare. This seemed to unnerve the aged Kage. As I thought, Kumo has poisoned the boy's mind. They have rid him of his emotions, and that girl on his arm is probably only to seduce him and keep him in Kumo and away from his rightful home here in Konoha, thought Sarutobi as he looked over the group before him once more. Now Naruto, why don't we go to my office so we can talk? Asked the Kage while he tried to wrap an arm around the boy's shoulder, keyword being tried. Naruto swatted the hand away and his team each pulled their weapons in defense. Don't you dare touch me, you useless excuse for a Kage, snarled Naruto with so much venom in his voice it made every leaf ninja present flinch. It's worse than I thought. They must have placed a loyalty seal on him, thought Sarutobi as sent a discreet glare to the assembled Kumo team. Letting out a sigh, Sarutobi nodded sadly. Very well, Naruto, you and your team may go, said Hiruzen, spitting the word team like it was venom. This didn't go unnoticed by Naruto or his team. Putting away their weapons, they made their way into the village to find a hotel to stay at. Turning to the Anbu team, Sarutobi spoke in low growl, "You are relieved of your temporary posts in Anbu. Return to your regular duties and keep an eye on them no matter what. They have done something to Naruto and I want it fixed soon. Try triggering some of his old memories that should help him fight whatever those bastards in Kumo did to him. We cannot lose the heir to the Namikaze and Uzumaki lines." The four present Anbu nodded and removed their masks and cloaks before disappearing into the village. "Soon, Naruto, soon you shall be back in your true home, Konoha." With that thought, the Hokage shunshin back to his office. With Team 20. "The old man is either getting senile in his old age, or he's just plain stupid," said Naruto sitting down in the hotel room he and his team had booked. "Though I agree with you, Naruto, why do you believe the old is senile or stupid? I may not hold much respect for him, but he is known as the god of shinobi and the professor for a reason," said Darui sitting across from the blonde boy. Karui and Yujito nodded in agreement with their sensei. While they may hate the old Kage, he is quite formidable. Based on a few facts, first, he still thinks of me as an immature little boy. He thinks I need to be taught how to act, and he is the only one who can do it. Also, you wouldn't notice it unless you knew what to look for, but he sent a glare at you all when I told him not to touch me," said Naruto, surprising his team. "Not to mention when he dismissed us, he spoke my name with kindness while practically spitting the word team when he referred to you all. If I were a betting man, I'd bet he thinks that someone in Kumo placed a loyalty seal or something of the sort on me." This made his team tense up. If the Hokage made such an assumption, what's to stop him from outright attacking them? That's not the worst of it though. It was the way he looked at Yujito-chan. He thinks that she's either trying to seduce me so Kumo can have another Namikaze and Uzumaki clan, or she's just with me to keep me in Kumo, growled Naruto, while he radiated killing intent. Yujito moved to sit in his lap and wrapped him in a hug to calm him down. It wouldn't be good to attract any more attention than they already had. "You're probably right, Naruto. You're the best profiler on this team, and you've never been wrong before. We need to be extra careful during our time here in Konoha. None of us, myself included, and you especially Naruto, are to go out into the village alone. We need to stick together no matter what while we're here," said Darui with a serious tone. His team nodded in agreement. They were brought out of their thoughts when there was a knock on the door. Instantly all four were on guard with weapons drawn and ready for a fight. Naruto looked over to Darui, who nodded in return. Forming one of his favorite hand signs, Naruto created a shadow clone and sent it to answer to door, while he and his team hid and prepared for an attack. "Who is it and what do you want?" asked the clone while he drew a kunai and got into a defensive stance. The answer everyone heard was not what they were expecting. "It's Kakashi Hatake, Might Guy, Kurina Yuhi and Enko Midarashi. We're not armed and we would just like a chance to speak with you," said the voice of Kakashi. Surprised, the clone decided to make sure they weren't lying. Putting away its kunai, the clone approached the door with no thought of defense. If they truly wanted to talk, then they wouldn't do anything, but if they did, he would dispel and give his creator a heads up. Opening the door revealed that what Kakashi had said was true. None of them were armed, not even with the basic shuriken holster on the thigh. Kakashi and Guy had even left behind their jounin vests as even more proof. The clone tried to release any genjutsu that might have been in place, but found none and beckoned them into the room. "It's alright, they are unarmed and there is no genjutsu in place. They were speaking the truth, they just want to talk," said the clone before he dispelled in a poof of smoke. The real Naruto came out of his hiding place and walked into the center of the room, surprising the jounin present that they hadn't sensed where he was hiding. "You wanted to talk, he said in a demanding voice. "What about your teammates, Naruto?" asked Kurinai, trying not to sound threatening. "With all due respect, they would prefer to stay hidden. However, should you try anything, you will see them, right before you die." "Now what is this about?" said Naruto. The jounin flinched slightly at the tone, but understood his reasons for it. "Naruto, we came to tell you to be careful around the Hokage. He is not in his right mind as of late," started Kakashi. "He believes that someone in Kumo has done something to you to make you loyal to them. He probably suspects a loyalty seal, or something along those lines." To the surprise of the Leaf Jounin, Naruto snorted in amusement. "So I was right in my assumption that the old coot thinks Kumo has done something to me. I can assure you that I am under no such seal or jutsu," said Naruto, looking them in the eye. "We know, little brother," said Enko, surprising the Kumo team, except for Naruto. "We know you couldn't have been under any kind of seal or jutsu because of a certain jutsu you have in your arsenal. You mean the lightning-style armor, don't you?" It was more of a statement than a question. "So you know what the jutsu does to the body when it is used?" "Yes, Naruto. I have faced the current Raikage once before, and with the help of my Sharingan, I was able to get an understanding of what the lightning-style armor does to the body. Because loyalty seals and jutsu that do the same, target the synapses to transfer information based on whatever order is given, the stimulation caused by the lightning-style armor would counteract and cancel any such jutsu or seal placed on you. You are and have been making your own choices. You chose to go Kumo, and you chose to cut your ties with Konoha," said Kakashi, finishing in a saddened tone. The other jounin had similar looks on their faces. They had lost the person they all thought of as a little brother. "Thank you all for understanding, and while I have cut my ties with this village, I have not cut ties with my brothers and sisters, said Naruto with a small smile towards the Jounin guy, who had been unusually quiet during the conversation, had anime tears rolling down his face as he brought Naruto into a bone-crushing hug. To still think of us as your siblings, your flames youth burn brighter than the sun, little brother, said Guy while Naruto started turning blue in the face. No problem, Guy can't breath, wheezed Naruto as he struggled for the precious gift called oxygen. Guy, you might want to let Naruto breathe, said Anko with a sweat drop. Realizing she was right, Guy quickly released Naruto, and he started gulping down as much air as he possibly could. Let's try that again, said Anko while moved over and hugged Naruto once he had regained his breath. Returning the hug, Naruto allowed another smile to grace his face. While he had left the village out of spite, he had truly missed his brothers and sisters. Kurenai got up and joined in on the hug as well, with Kakashi and a calmer Guy joined in as well. Naruto's teammates smiled at the scene from their hiding spots. Naruto had mentioned on more than one occasion his adoptive siblings he left behind in Konoha. To see him reunited with the 4 people who truly accepted him in this village was heartwarming to say the least. Ending the hug, though reluctantly, Naruto signaled for his team to come out. While I would love to spend the rest of the day hanging out with all of you, you should get back to your duties and keep this meeting a secret. The less the Hokage knows the better, and I don't want you to get into trouble because of me. For now we should all go about our normal business. I think it's safe to assume the old fool told you to keep an eye on me, right? Said Naruto. The 4 Jounin nodded the affirmative to the question. Okay, then do that. My team and I will do what we normally do, and we won't try and stop you unless it is absolutely necessary that we lose you. Just try and make sure you're the only ones watching us, okay? We don't need any surprises while we're here. Everyone nodded in agreement with the plan, and with a few quick introductions and one last hug, the 4 Leaf Jounin left to return to their usual activities, with similar thoughts going through their heads. When the Chunin exams are over, I'll be leaving with my little brother. A week later, day of Chunin exams. It was the day the Chunin exams were to begin. Naruto and his teammates were heading towards the academy where their sensei had said the first portion of the exam was taking place. As they continued on their way, Naruto couldn't help the question that slipped out of him. I know there are 3 parts to Chunin exams, but what the hell kind of test could be held at the academy? His teammates nodded in agreement. The fact that the first part of the exam was taking place at the academy suggested that it was either pointless or incredibly easy. Though they knew never to assume that anything would be easy, Darui had drilled that thought into them when they first became a team. Thinking something was easy was the first step down the path of arrogance, and the easiest way to get yourself killed. Once they entered the academy, they made their way to the 3rd floor where the first part of the exam was being held. After they went up a set of stairs, they found a bunch of genin grouped together around a door with 301 over it. Are they seriously falling for that low-level genjutsu? Thought Naruto, looking at the backs of the gathered genin. Turning to his teammates, he raised an eyebrow, to which both of them nodded their heads, indicating they had similar thoughts. Walking down a side hallway, they continued to make their way to the 3rd floor for the exam. When they reached the real room 301, they were blasted with killing intent when they entered. Raising an eyebrow at the killing intent coming from the other Chunin hopefuls, Yujito looked at Naruto silently, asking if they could have a little fun, Karui mimicking her actions. Looking over his shoulder at his 2 teammates, Naruto nodded his head, answering their question with a familiar fox-like smirk on his face. The genin who were gathered in the exam room waiting for the rest of the participants to arrive and for the exams to begin had been using their killing intent to intimidate the competition, but all of them were thrown for a loop when the newest team to walk in, which they noticed was from Kumo, unleashed unimaginable amounts of killing intent. Now the amount of killing intent wasn't what scared the Chunin hopefuls. Anyone with enough anger could unleash lots of killing intent if they wished. No, what scared them was the thickness and density of the killing intent let off by the 3. It felt as if there was a physical weight on everyone's shoulders, forcing them down on the ground and to submit to the obvious power of the Kumo team. Naruto and his team moved to one of the corners near the door to wait for the exams to begin and to observe the other participants. That was fun. Did you see the looks on all of their faces? Priceless, said Karui as she was trying and failing to control her laughter. Yes, it was. That should hopefully scare off a couple of the ones with common sense and keep them out of our hair. Now all we need to do is plan for the more idiotic ones and be ready for anything they might try, said Naruto while he surveyed the genin present, most flinching when his gaze landed on them. A few minutes passed, and in that time most of the stronger genin were able to shake off what remained of Team 20's killing intent and began to use their own to intimidate the new competitors. Naruto turned to look at the newest arrivals when he heard the door open, only to come face to face with Team 7. The brooding Uchiha in the lead with his lost puppies right behind him. Oh, things just got a whole lot more interesting, said Naruto barely above a whisper, but his team heard him. Both turned to see Team 7 talking rather loudly with the newly arrived Team 8 and Team 10. They looked over all of them and matched their descriptions to the ones Naruto's siblings had given them. The first one was a feral-looking boy with a white puppy on his head. He wore a gray jacket with black fur lining the hood and black shinobi pants. On his face were 2 red fangs on both of his cheeks and short, spiky black hair with his head band tied in its proper position. This was Kiba Inuzuka, the heir to the Inuzuka clan of. The next one had long spiky brown hair with a pair of sunglasses on his face. Most of his face was hidden by his high-colored gray jacket. He had brown shinobi pants on and his head band around his forehead. This was Shino Aburame, the heir to the Aburame clan of bug tamers. The last member of Team 8 was the only female on the team. She had on a tan jacket with white fur surrounding the bottom of it. She had blue shinobi pants on and her headband was tied around her neck. She had dark blue hair and the pale lavender eyes of the Byakugan. This was Hinata Hyuga, heiress of the Hyuga clan. Kurenai had told them that while they were originally designed to be a tracking unit, they could each hold their own in a fight. The next team was Team 10. The first member was a lazy-looking boy with black pineapple hair. He had a mesh shit under a half-gray vest with green lining and brown pants, and his headband was tied around his left sleeve. This was Shikamaru Nara, heir to the genius and lazy Nara clan. The next boy was rather chubby. He had a tan shirt with a red kanji on the front, and gray shorts with bandages wrapped around his legs and forearms. He had a green jacket over his shirt along with a white scarf wrapped around his neck. His headband looked like a pair of underwear on his head around his brown hair. This was Choji Akimichi, heir to the Akimichi expansion clan. The last member of Team 10 was another boy with pale white skin with a black shirt that showed his midsection along with a half jacket like Shikamaru, only his was black, with black shinobi pants. He had black fingerless gloves and a tanto strapped to his back. His headband was somewhat hidden by his straight black hair, and he seemed to have a permanent emotionless expression on his face. This was Sai, some unknown from the academy. Soon after they started talking to each other, a guy with silver hair and a ponytail and glasses on approached them. "Let's listen in," said Naruto. Nodding their heads in agreement, all three channeled chakra into their ears to listen in on the conversation. With the rookie 9, "You know, you rookies should really be more quiet. You're drawing a lot of attention to yourselves, especially from that Kumo team over there," said the silver-haired kid. "Oh, this can't end well," thought said Kumo team while the three Konoha rookie teams turned to face them. Teams 8 and 10 just looked at them with indifference, while Team 7 seemed to freeze at the sight of them. "They don't look that tough. Hell, I bet even Sakura and Ino and could take on the only shinobi of the team," said Kiba while his dog barked in agreement. He turned to gloat some more when he noticed that Team 7 wasn't moving, or even breathing. "Hey, what's up with you three?" This seemed to catch the attention of the rest of the rookie teams. They turned to look at their fellow rookies and noticed all of them acting strangely. Sakura and Ino were shaking in fear, while quietly hyperventilating. They were leaning on each other for support just to remain upright. Sasuke's behavior though was what caught everyone's attention. The normally calm, cool and collected Uchiha was sweating bullets while looking at the Kumo team, specifically the lone shinobi of the team, with fear evident in his eyes. His normally pale complexion was even paler, if that was possible. This caught the silver-haired teen's attention. Sasuke seems to know something about that Kumo team, and if they can put fear in his eyes then they could pose a problem later on. "Something about that Kumo team doesn't feel right," muttered Shino. "Why do you say that, Shino?" asked Kiba. "Because Kiba, my insects can sense a person's chakra, and if what they're telling me is true, then that Kumo team is extremely dangerous," said Shino. This raised even more questions in the Konoha rookies' heads. First, Sasuke is scared to death by this team's mere presence, and now Shino is saying that his bugs believe them to be that dangerous? "Well, if you want to know something about anyone in the exams, I have information on everyone who's participating, even you rookies," said the silver-haired boy as he brought out a deck of orange cards. This seemed to break Sasuke out of his fear-induced stupor. He turned his head so fast towards Kabuto that the rest of the rookies were surprised he didn't snap his neck. "I want all the information you have on Gaara no Sabaka from Suna, Rock Lee from Konoha, Karui of Kumo, Yujito Ni of Kumo and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze of Kumo," said Sasuke with barely contained fear in his voice when he spoke the last three names. Kabuto was drawing a card every time Sasuke said a name but froze when he heard the last name. Apparently he wasn't the only one surprised by the last name Sasuke said, since when he froze he heard a large gasp come from all of the Konoha ninja around them. They all turned to look the lone male member of the Kumo team, and each nearly had a heart attack at the resemblance the boy had to the fourth Hokage. Shaking off his shock, Kabuto drew the last card and put some chakra into the cards to reveal the information on them. "Okay, first we have Gaara no Sabaku. His mission history is 25 D-rank missions, 8 C-rank missions, and a B-rank mission as a genin. Impressive. His teammates are his siblings Temari and Kankuro, and his sensei is Baki of the Wind. I don't have much on his skills since he's from another country, but it seems he's returned from every mission without so much as a scratch on him." This caused many of the Konoha rookies to shiver at the thought of how much power he had. Next is Rock Lee. He's a year older than you guys, but this is his first time taking the exams. His mission history is 28 D-rank missions, and 10 C-rank missions. His sensei is Might Guy and his teammates are Niji Hyuga and Tenten. His taijutsu has improved significantly over the past year, but his genjutsu and ninjutsu is non-existent. The Konoha genin all shrugged their shoulders. If all he could do was taijutsu, then how strong could he be? Karui of Kumo. Mission history is 15 D-rank missions, and 5 C-rank missions. That's odd. She and her team barely completed the minimum requirement of missions needed to participate. This surprised all the rookies. Based on Team 7's reaction, they were expecting them to have more missions under their belt. Her teammates are Yujitoni and Naruto Namikaze. Like Gaara, I don't know a lot about them, but from what I have, her taijutsu, genjutsu and ninjutsu are all average. Her skills in kenjutsu are slightly above average. Overall, she seems like an average kunoichi. This raised questions inside of the entire Rookie 9. She doesn't seem that strong, so what caused Team 7 to go all pale at the sight of the team? Maybe it was one of the blondes. Yujitoni, teammate to Carry and Naruto Namikaze, mission history is the same as her team. Her taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu and kenjutsu are all average. Frankly, there isn't anything impressive about her. Nothing impressive? I'll show you nothing impressive, you little bastard, thought Yujito, trying to keep her composure and not destroy Kabuto. Lastly, Naruto Namikaze, teammate to Yujitoni and Karui. His genjutsu is almost non-existent. Taijutsu, ninjutsu and kenjutsu are all slightly above average. Out of his team, he is the one that poses the biggest threat, said Kabuto. Now the Rookie 9 were confused. Team 7's response to seeing the Kumo team made them appear much more powerful than Kabuto's info cards made them appear. They didn't have much time to think on it because there was an explosion of smoke at the front of the room. When the smoke cleared, it revealed a scared Jounin and at least 30 Chunin. Quiet down, you bastards. My name is Ibiki Marino and I'm the proctor for the first part of the Chunin exams, said the scared Jounin. Now each of you will come forward and receive a number. Once you have your number, that will be your seat during the written exam. This surprised many of the Chunin hopefuls but also served to terrify them as well. Written exam? You have got to fucking kidding me. The first part of the Chunin exam is a written exam? Thought the only Kumo genin in the exams. Everyone moved forward and received their number, and after everyone had a number, they moved to their seats. Naruto looked around and noticed Karui and Yujito were in the same row as him, just at different ends. Karui was toward the right with Yujito toward the left and him in the middle. We got lucky with the seating for our team. With this positioning and our unique way of signaling each other, we shouldn't have any problems with the written portion, thought Naruto as Ibiki started going over the rules for the written test. Once Ibiki had finished going over the rules, almost all of the genin were even more concerned about how well they would do on the written portion. You have 1 hour. The 10th question will be given when there is 15 minutes left in the hour period. The first part of the Chunin exam begins now, said Ibiki once all the tests were handed out. No one wasted a second and began to try and answer any question they could. Naruto was looking over the questions on the test, and the more he read through them, the more he began to think about the rules of the test. So that's your game, is it, Ibiki? Well, two can play at that game, thought Naruto while tapped his desk lightly, catching his teammates' attention with a coded signal. Once they signaled back, he began making discrete hand signals that their team had come up with so they could signal one another using their own unique code. Don't answer any questions on the test. The true purpose is to test our information gathering skills while in intense situations. The last question is most likely a no-win situation question. Just play along for now and act ignorant of the exam. After he sent the message, he waited for them to respond when they each signaled a quick, understood. After they had finished their short conversation, all three of them just leaned back and enjoyed the show of the rest of the Chunin hopefuls struggling and squirming under the strain of the test. They noticed that most of the Konoha rookies had figured it out, and were using their clan's secrets and techniques to get the answers. So that's the Kumo team Lord Hokage wanted me to keep an eye on. They seemed to be masking their true capabilities like true shinobi, and judging from their posture and the hand movements they just did, it would appear they figured out the true meaning of the exam and are just enjoying the show, thought Ibiki from his spot in the front of the class. He was about to turn away from them when the only male on the team caught his eye. He was looking straight at him while making hand gestures. What surprised Ibiki was that they were the signs the interrogation department used to signal one another during interrogations. The silver-haired kid with the ponytail and glasses knows too much. He has classified information, and judging from his scent of snake summons, he is either an accomplice to Orochimaru or a very good friend of Anko's, which I highly doubt. Now Ibiki was shocked. Not only did this kid know the signals the interrogation department used, but he was helping them by identifying a possible spy in the village. Shaking off his shock, Ibiki signaled back. How do you know these signals, and how do you know for sure he smells of snake summons? Naruto nodded in acknowledgement to the signals and responded, as to how I know them, that's not important right now. How do I know he smells of snakes? Simple, I have enhanced senses from my furry friend. Shaking his head at this information, Ibiki just gave quick, alright, I'll have it checked out, and went back to watching over the exam. It was time for the 10th question to be given, and of the original 62 teams that had entered, only 30 or so were left. Naruto noticed Ibiki getting ready for his grand finale, and signaled his team to be ready. Alright bastards, it's time for the 10th question. Now before I tell you the final question, there are a few more rules that are unique to the 10th question. First is that you can choose whether to take it or not. This caused mummers to erupt around the room, with many wondering why they were given a choice. Should you choose not to take the question, your points will be reduced to 0, and you and your team fail. But should you choose to accept the question and get it wrong, then you will be barred from taking the Chunin exams ever again. Everyone present save for a select few were shocked at what would happen should they get the question wrong. Now those of you who wish to quit now simply raise your hands, your number will be recorded and you and your team will be allowed to leave. A couple of people raised their hands and withdrew, leaving a little over 20 teams. After waiting to see if anyone else was going to drop out, Ibiki let a smirk cross his face at this next part. Very well, if that is all who wish to leave, then to those of you remaining there is only one thing to say: congratulations, you have successfully passed the first part of the Chunin exams. The remaining genin were surprised, though relieved to hear this. After Ibiki explained the reasons behind the exam and was about to dismiss the genin, a black ball crashed through the window and unfurled, revealing a banner saying, "The super sexy proctor of the second exam, Anko Mitarashi," with said Kunoichi standing in front of the banner, causing many of the male participants to have nosebleeds and the females to feel slightly jealous of her figure. Smirking at his sister's antics, Naruto couldn't wait for the next exam if she was in charge of it. With her in charge, I'd be surprised if any of us are still in this thing at the end. Alright you maggots, there's no rest for you brats. You have 10 minutes to get to training ground 44 for the second part of the exam, said Anko. No one moved and they all continued to look at the strange woman before them. What are you maggots waiting for? An open invitation? Get your sorry ass in gear now. That did the trick as the room was cleared in less than a second. Turning to her fellow interrogator, Anko gave Ibiki a smirk. Well, I'll catch you later, Ibiki. Once I wipe out at least half of the brats with my exam. Anko stood just outside the gate to what she liked to call her personal little playground. Before her stood the genin who had managed to pass the first exam. Most of them were bent over trying to catch their breath from the insane sprint they did to get there. However, she noticed that her little brother's team hardly looked winded. Smirking in their direction, she cleared her throat loudly to gain the attention of the genin. Alright maggots, you'll be spending 5 days in here, and your objective while in here is to get both of these scrolls, a heaven and an earth scroll. Once you have both scrolls, you'll make your way to the tower in the heart of the forest. Now once all of you sign these consent forms, go to the booth over there to receive your scroll, said Anko while handing out the consent forms and waiting for all the teams to sign them and get a scroll. Most of the teams were hesitant at first until they saw the team from Kumo sign the forms without hesitation and go to the booth and receive their scroll. Not wanting to be shown up, the rest of the teams soon followed Team 20's example and signed the forms before getting their scrolls. With Team 20 at Gate 20, Naruto and his team were planning what to do once the second exam began. We'll find the nearest team and take them down before they have time to react. Don't hold back. We move in hard and fast and get out in under a minute. Leave no trace of our presence and eliminate the bodies, said Naruto. They had decided that while they were in the forest, away from prying eyes, they would use their true strength to finish the exam as quickly as possible. So we finally get to go all out. It's about damn time, said Karui as she sharpened her katana while they waited for the exam to start. Yeah, it's been a long time since we were allowed to go no holds barred, said Yujito while she stretched slightly. Yes, it has been a while since we went all out. The last time was against Arui-sensei and B-sensei in our last spar before we came here, said Naruto while they waited for the announcement to start. They didn't have to wait long before Anko's voice sounded over the speaker system. Alright you worthless maggots, the second part of the Chunin exams begin now. The gates flew open when her voice stopped, and the teams didn't waste any time and launched into the forest. Team 20 stopped on a high branch about 5 minutes into the forest. So who do we hit first? Asked Karui while she kept an eye on their surroundings. Yujito-chan, you're the censor of our team. It's your call, said Naruto, giving his girlfriend a smile. Returning the smile, Yujito put her hands in the ram seal and started to focus on the nearby chakra signals. She stayed like that for a few minutes before she opened her eyes and turned to her team. There are 3 teams near our position. The first one is Team 10 from the first exam, the second one is a team from Kiri, and the third one is a weird team of Kusa Ninja heading towards Team 7, who are the next closest to our position, she said while Naruto looked in the direction she pointed in when she mentioned a new team. Of all the chakra signatures, the Kusa team has the largest, and I'm fairly certain one of them is Orochimaru based on the evil feel of the chakra. We know Team 7's skills from the Wave mission, and if what Kakashi said was true, they aren't any better than they were then. The Kiri team is the closest, and they seem to be about the same strength as Team 7. Alright, we'll go after the Kiri team, and if they don't have the scroll we need, we'll go after another team, said Naruto, getting a nod from his team. Lead the way, Yujito-chan. Nodding again, Yujito took off in the direction she sensed the Kiri team with her teammates on her heels. They ran for about 5 minutes before they came upon the Kiri team setting up a campsite for the night. Alright, we take them hard and fast, strike from a distance, and don't show mercy. They moved into position so they could take out the entire Kiri team at once and not give them a chance to counter. Once they were in position, they didn't hesitate, and each took out their target in their own unique way. Naruto took out a kunai and launched it at the back of his target's neck, killing him instantly. Yujito used 2 shuriken and impaled her target's head from both sides. Karui jumped from her hiding spot and snuck up on her target and decapitated her before she knew what was happening. Well, that's all of them. Now hopefully they have the scroll we need, said Karui as she started going through her target's supply pouch. This one didn't have the scroll, she called to her teammates as they went through their kills' belongings. This one doesn't have it either, called Yujito after she finished checking her kills pouch. Got it, called Naruto as he pulled an earth scroll out of his target's pouch. Damn, it's another earth scroll. I guess we'll have to find another team, and hope they have what we need. So we're going another team then. Yujito, are there any others around besides Team 7 and the Kusa team? Asked Karui as she walked over with Yujito. Give me a second, I'll check it out, said Yujito as she once again put her hands into the ram's seal and began to focus. There aren't many other teams nearby, except for a team from Konoha that isn't Team 7, 8, or 10. Alright, we'll head towards the Konoha team as soon as we destroy this campsite and remove the bodies, said Naruto as he picked up the body of the person he killed and placed it next to the bodies of his teammates. Going through a few hand signs and ending with the tiger sign, fire style, fireball jutsu, bringing his right hand to his mouth, he exhaled a fireball that incinerated the corpses of the Kiri team. Going through another set of seals, Naruto once again raised his hand to his lips, wind style, great breakthrough. The ashes that had been left behind by the bodies were lost to wind and spread throughout the forest. While he was doing this, Yujito and Karui had gotten rid of the campsite and were waiting for him to finish. Let's get moving. With that, they took off towards the Konoha team with thoughts of payback in mind. 30 minutes later, Team 20 stood on a branch overlooking the clearing where their next victims were sitting. The team was made of 3 boys and they had a heaven scroll sitting out in plain sight. Raising an eyebrow at the scroll sitting a few feet away from the team, Naruto turned to look at his teammates. This team is either really strong, or really stupid. If they have their scroll out in the open like that, then there are either traps set up to stop attackers or they're that confident in their skills that they can defend the scroll, said Naruto as Yujito and Karui nodded in agreement. If they think they can fight us off, then let's test that theory. Making a familiar cross-shaped seal, Naruto performed one of his favorite jutsus. Shadow Clone Jutsu, an exact clone of Naruto, appeared in a poof of smoke, before it jumped away to complete its task. Let's go, said Naruto as he jumped off of the branch they were on, and launched a hail of shuriken at the Konoha genin. The Konoha team, who had been discussing what they planned on doing after they became chunin, jumped out of the way of the rain of shuriken just in time to avoid any serious injury, thought they got a few cuts. Looking up, they barely had time to register that the Kumo team they had seen in the first exam was falling towards them, each with a blade drawn and ready to kill. Shaking off the slight bit of fear they felt at the sight of the team, they each drew a kunai and charged Team 20 with the intent to finish this quickly. Breaking away from each other, Team 20 each took on one of their Konoha counterparts. Naruto and his opponent met with a clash of steel as ninjato and kunai clashed over and over again, either of them giving an edge. Ducking under a kunai strike to the head, Naruto tried to sweep his opponent's feet out from under him, only for him to jump over the kick and aim a kick of his own at Naruto's head. Sidestepping the kick, Naruto swung his ninjato up, hoping to remove his opponent's left arm his body. Seeing the sword about to remove his arm, the Konoha ninja jumped away but couldn't avoid the strike completely, if the long gash on his arm was any indication. Yujito charged her opponent before letting loose a few kunai to throw him off balance. Unfortunately, he managed to avoid the kunai and threw a couple of his own back at her. Blocking the kunai she couldn't dodge, she went for a roundhouse kick to her opponent's head, which was blocked by his forearm. Using the arm as a fulcrum, Yujito rotated her body and brought an axe kick down on her opponent's shoulder with a satisfying crunch. Moving away from her, the Konoha ninja tried to throw some shuriken at her, but with his arm's current state, he could hardly move it. Not wanting to give him any time to make another move, Yujito moved in fast and removed his head from his body. Karui had immediately put her opponent on the defensive with her relentless kenjutsu strikes. He tried to go for a kick to her midsection, but she positioned her katana so that his foot would meet the sharp end of the blade. She wasn't disappointed when his foot cut itself on her blade, giving her the opening she needed to finish him with a sword to the heart. Looking over and noticing his teammates had already finished off their opponents, he decided to end his little spar as well. However, before he could move in for the kill, he noticed a shadow move and grabbed the heaven scroll that had been sitting out during the entire fight. Not a second later, he got his clone's memories after it dispelled, letting him know the position of the scroll. Breaking away from his current struggle, Naruto jumped to stand near his team before addressing the lone Konoha ninja. Well, that was fairly entertaining, but I'm afraid that we must be going. We have what we came for. With that, Team 20 jumped back into the trees and found where the clone had left the scroll. Pocketing the scroll, Naruto and his team left in the direction of the tower with the cries of the Konoha ninja left alive echoing in the night. Central Tower. 2 hours later, Team 20 had just made it to the entrance to the tower after avoiding about 5 teams who tried to ambush them. Man, I knew the villages had gotten a little lax in the years, but they call those an ambush. Those are the kinds of traps they made us do in the academy, said an annoyed Karui. The last 3 times someone tried to ambush them, one of the males on the teams had smacked Karui's ass in each attempt. Needless to say, those 3 had an unwilling and quite painful gender change. Well, come on, let's head in before someone else tries something, said Naruto as he opened the door and bowed, saying, ladies first. Yujito smiled at the gentleman's side of her boyfriend, while Karui just patted him on the head and said good boy. Naruto growled slightly at being referred to as a dog. This caused his 2 teammates to fall over laughing, and Kurama to start thrashing in his cage with laughter. "You have to admit, Kit, that was funny. Oh, I hope your mate does that more often," was what he heard from the fox who had been quiet as of late. "Can it furball, or should I subject you to that memory again?" thought Naruto, and smirked as Kurama instantly shut up. "Please, for the love of Kami, not that thing again. I swear I'll stop. I won't do anything bad. I'd be a good boy. Just please not that," cried Kurama, who was rocking in the fetal position in his cage. "Hey Yujito-chan, Karui, remind me to thank Guy and his mini-clone for what they showed us the day before the first exam," laughed Naruto as he walked up to them. Said Kunoichi shared a confused look before a look of fear crossed their faces. Naruto couldn't be taking about that, could he? "Naruto-kun, I love you with all my heart, but please tell me you aren't talking about that sadistic unbreakable genjutsu of theirs," said Yujito with obvious fear in her voice. Naruto's fox grin told them all they needed to know, and both Kunoichi shuddered and prayed to Kami, Yami, and Shinigami that they were never subjected to that unforgiving jutsu again. Shaking his head at his team's antics, but not really being able to blame them for it, Naruto looked around the room and noticed a message written on the wall. Quickly reading over the message, he came to the conclusion they needed to open the scrolls now. Taking out the scrolls from his pouch, Naruto handed the heaven scroll to Yujito. "I think we need to open the scrolls now," said Naruto while slightly opened the flap of the earth scroll. Yujito copied his actions, and with a nod to each other they opened the scrolls at the same time. They looked at the scrolls for a second before Naruto recognized the summoning seal of the scrolls and threw his to floor, Yujito mirroring his actions. The second the scrolls hit the floor, they started to smoke, and the three Kumo genin were on alert and ready to strike. When the customary poof of smoke occurred, the three moved to trap the newcomer before the smoke cleared. Once they had the person in a three-way death hold, they were about to finish them when a very familiar voice stopped them. "Excellent work on completing the second exam so quickly, team. Now, if it's not too much trouble, could you please let me go?" said Darui, who was currently being held in an awkward position. He was bent backwards with Naruto's ninjato at his neck ready to decapitate him, while the tip of Karui's katana was at his spine ready to sever it, and Yujito's wakizashi was dangerously close to piercing his heart. "Oops, sorry Darui-sensei," said Karui while she and her team removed their weapons from their sensei's body. "No harm done, and I'm proud that you were ready for anything and weren't taking any chances. If I could, I would promote you all to Chunin right now for that display of teamwork and resourcefulness," said Darui as he gave his team a proud smile, which was gladly returned. "Now, I was sent here to explain that message on the wall, but I really don't care about that, so why don't we just head up to our rooms and wait for the other competitors to finish the exam?" With that, Darui led his team farther into the tower and towards the upper levels where the rooms for the competitors were. "Naruto and I will take this one, Yujito and Karui, you two can have that one." Nodding their heads in agreement, the Kumo team went into their separate rooms to rest. The next day, council chamber. "This is a serious problem, Sarutobi. We must get the Kyuubi Jinchuriki back into the village," said Hamura Mitokado to the assembled council, which consisted of high-standing civilians and the heads of the clans in Konoha. Nodding in agreement with her fellow elder, Koharu Yuditane, spoke as well. "Hamura is right, Sarutobi. We must get the Kyuubi Jinchuriki back into the village no matter what." Many of the clan heads nodded in agreement. Not only would they have the power of the Kyuubi back in their control, but they would also the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki back. While many on the Shinobi Council agreed that it was critical that they get Naruto back in the village, the civilian council wasn't so adamant about having the so-called demon brat return. "No, we must not allow that demon to return to this village. What we should do is send every ninja this village has to kill the monster that took away Minato-kun," screeched the head of the civilian council, Sayuki Haruno. Many present flinched at the volume of her voice. They knew that she was Minato's biggest fangirl and had completely lost it when Minato and Kushina started hanging out more when they began dating in secret. It was also common knowledge that she blamed Naruto for everything the Kyuubi did, more so than most of the civilian population, especially for Minato's death. "No, we will bring Naruto back to village and he will be treated like the hero his father wanted him to be seen as," said Sarutobi in a tone that left no room for argument. Sayuki was about to start screeching again but wisely stopped when the Hokage signaled for the Anbu to reveal themselves. "Now we come to our current problem, how to get young Naruto back into the village. I do not see what the problem is, Hokage-sama. Why would Naruto not want to return to the village of his birth?" asked Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. The Hokage sighed as he knew this would cause a serious headache for him later on. "The problem is that I believe those bastards in Kumo have placed a loyalty seal of some kind on young Naruto. When I tried to approach him and welcome him back to his true home, he stopped me and spoke to me with so much venom in his voice that I was stunned. The only reason Naruto would speak to me with such a voice would have to be because of a loyalty seal," said the aged Kage as a tear rolled down his cheek. The Shinobi Council and the elders gasped at this. They knew Kumo wouldn't hesitate to resort to drastic measure to get what they want, but to place such a seal on a child was unthinkable. "We must do whatever it takes to break young Naruto of whatever seal has been placed on him." The Shinobi Council and elders nodded in agreement, all but one of them thinking of the best way to return the son of their greatest hero to the village. Danzo Shimura, while he was thinking of ways to bring Naruto back to Konoha, was also thinking of a way to get this obviously powerful shinobi under his thumb. The council spent a few minutes trying to figure out the best way to get Naruto back into the village, until Inoichi Yamanaka suddenly stood up with a proposition. Hokage-sama, what if those of us with daughters have them try to seduce or win Naruto's heart to give him a connection to the village? Many of the other shinobi council members agreed to this. It would not only help them to convince Naruto to return to the village, but could also possibly give them an heir to the Namikaze and Uzumaki lines. Yes, that is a good idea, but it will be slightly difficult because Kumo has given him some slut to keep him grounded in their village, said the Hokage. Many of the council members scowled at that. To not only use a loyalty seal but to also use some random slut to make him fall in love was even worse. It doesn't matter, we'll just have to remove her and make it appear like an accident. Then one of our daughters can move in and console him, winning him over in the process, said Hayashi, with the other clan heads nodding in agreement. Very well, after the second stage of the Chunin exams is complete we will make her disappear during the month-long break, said Sarutobi, getting nods of agreement from the shinobi council, while the civilian council scowled. If the demon brat was brought back to the village, then they would make sure that his life here would be hell, and the second he produced an heir they would have him executed. 4 days later, Central Tower. Naruto stood with his team and the other genin teams that passed the second exam. Among them were teams 7, 8, 10, and Guy's team. There was a team from Suna that had finished a few hours after team 20, an Odo team that looked like most of them had gone through hell, and the last team there was the silver-haired boy from the first exam and his teammates. Naruto was staring at the people standing in front of them, specifically a certain old man, with eyes that promised nothing but pain and suffering when he got his hands on him. Before them stood the Hokage along with their Jounin senseis standing behind him. Enko stood with the Jounin and had a headset on. Next to her stood a sickly-looking Jounin with a bandana-style headband and the standard Konoha Jounin uniform. Congratulations to all of you for passing the second stage in the Chunin exams. Now normally we would go straight to the third exam, but seeing as so many of you passed the exam we will be holding a preliminary round now to cut your numbers down. Those of you who don't think you can compete any further are free to go. Just give your name to the proctor, and you will be escorted out. The only one to drop out willingly was Kabuto, claiming he didn't have any chakra left to fight. One of the sound team made their teammate drop out since either of his arms were useful. Seeing as no one else was going to drop out, the Hokage handed over control to the sickly Jounin. Hello everyone, my name is Hate Gecko. Like Hokage-sama said, we will be holding a preliminary round where each of you will compete in one-on-one matches. The match is over when one of the participants is unable to continue. I call the match or one of you dies. Participants will be chosen at random. Now let's decide the first match, said Hate as Enko said something into her headset and a panel on the wall opened up to reveal a screen with names flying across it. Everyone held their breath as the names continued to scroll across the screen. The screen suddenly stopped on 2 names and everyone who wasn't chosen let out a breath, while those that were chosen were preparing for a fight. Will Sasuke Uchiha and Yoroi Akato please stay down here? The rest of you can move to the observation platforms, said Hate, while Sasuke and one of Kabuto's teammates stayed behind and everyone else moved to the observation platforms, with Team 20. So the Uchihas going first. This should be entertaining, said Yujito as she sat on the railing of the observation platform. Down on the floor, said Imo stood across from one of the members of Kabuto's team. It was hard to tell anything by looking at the guy because of his purple face mask that covered everything from his nose to his neck, and his sunglasses weren't helping. Down in the arena, Hate stepped in between the 2 competitors and looked at each before speaking. The first round, Sasuke Uchiha vs. Yoroi Akato. Are the both of you ready? Asked Hate, before going into a coughing fit. Yes, said Yoroi in a monotone. Yeah, let's get this over with, said the world's biggest emo. Very well then, the first round begin, said Hate as he jumped back so as not to get caught in the crossfire. Yoroi didn't waste any time and threw 2 shuriken at Sasuke, following in after them with his right hand glowing with chakra. Seeing the lethal stars, Sasuke pulled out a kunai to deflect them, sending them back at Yoroi. Dodging under the shuriken, Yoroi continued with his charge and launched his right hand at the Uchiha. Rolling to side to avoid the strike that created a small crater on the floor, Sasuke used his kunai to stop his roll and used his feet to flip Yoroi away. Not bad, better take this a little more seriously, thought Yoroi as he got up off the floor to stare at the still-down form of the Uchiha gripping his left shoulder. So the curse mark is still affecting him, now's my chance. Yoroi charged forward with his right hand erupting in chakra again, and before Sasuke could do anything, he grabbed onto his head. Sasuke's eyes widened when he felt his chakra leaving him. He's draining my chakra. I've got to end this fast, he thought while he was barely able to sweat the hand away, put some distance between them, with Team 20. The emo's in for a hard fight. Judging from the drop in his chakra signature, I'd wager that Yoroi guy has the ability to drain his opponent's chakra, said Yujito from her spot on the rail. Her back was facing the fight while she looked at her team. You're right, if Yoroi can get in close this match is finished. How much chakra does the bastard have left? Asked Naruto while he leaned on the rail next to his girlfriend. Yujito focused for a minute before she answered. Not much. If he tries to use ninjutsu, even a basic fireball, he'll kill himself from chakra depletion. But if Yoroi can get a hold of him for more than 30 seconds, he'll die because chakra depletion anyway. Nodding in agreement, the Kumo team turned to look at the fight, except Naruto, who felt a pair of eyes watching him closely. Turning to where he felt the eyes coming from, Naruto came face to face with the third Hokage. Judging by the look in his eyes, he has something planned. Hokage or not, if he tries anything to harm Yujito-chan, Karui or Dari-sensei, I'll make him pay. I don't think you have to worry about him trying anything too drastic, even humans aren't that stupid, came the ever-present voice of Kurama. Kurama, you know as well as I that humans can be the stupidest beings on the face of the earth. Just look at what they've done to me in the past, and their wrongly placed fear of the bijou. Just because we're different, that somehow gives them the right to fear and attack us. You make a good point, Kit. Don't worry if that old fool tries anything that threatens either of our mates, he will pay with his life. I agree completely. Naruto, what have those bastards in Kumo done to you? Thought Sarutobi sadly when he saw the young blonde glare at him. I swear, Naruto, no matter what it takes, you will be returned to your one true home here in Konoha. Turning his attention back to the fight at hand, Sarutobi saw Sasuke use a combo he called Lion's Barrage to finish and win the match. Winner, Sasuke Uchiha, said Hate after checking Yoroi and finding him unconscious. Kakashi was about to take Sasuke away to seal the curse mark when he caught Naruto's eye. Wondering what his little brother was up to, Kakashi was about to walk over when he caught something before it hit his face. Looking at the piece of paper in his hand, he noticed that it had a seal drawn on it. Looking back to the blonde for an explanation, he saw him gesture to the paper in his hand and then to the approaching Sasuke. Getting the meaning, Kakashi nodded before leaving with Sasuke to seal the curse mark. What was that you gave Kakashi, Naruto? Asked Eri after the short interaction between brothers. He had an idea, but he wanted to make sure. Kakashi may not be the best at sealing, but he's good enough to seal whatever is affecting the emo quickly. I don't know about you all, but I would rather not have my secrets stolen by the bastard and his newly awakened Sharingan. The seal I gave Kakashi was a basic Uzumaki seal that will suppress Sasuke's chakra until it is removed, and it can't be removed except by the one that placed the seal, the one who made it, or a seal master with knowledge of the Uzumaki style, said Naruto as he turned his head to the screen when it made a beeping noise. It was scrambling through names again before stopping on the next two competitors. Will Shikamaru, Nara and Kintsuchi please come down, said Hate after looking at the board. The girl from the Oto team that had made her teammate quit jumped down to the floor and waited for the lazy genius to get down there. Man, this is so troublesome. Why do I have to fight a girl? Asked Shikamaru as he started walk towards Kin and Hate with bored look on his face. So we finally get to see the heir to one of Konoha's most powerful clans fight, huh? This should be interesting, said Karui from her spot on the wall. Maybe not as interesting as you think. The Naras are known geniuses, true, but they are also known to be some of the laziest people on the planet. From what I knew of Shikamaru before I left, he's considered a genius even among his clansmen, but he is also the laziest, said Naruto with his arms crossed as he watched the shadow user with a critical eye. He'll win, but the fight won't be that interesting. True to what Naruto said, the fight wasn't that interesting or eventful. At the beginning it looked like Shikamaru would lose when he fell for Kin's Saban/Genjutsu combination. The only real surprise was when Shikamaru managed to catch Kin in his shadow while still disoriented from her Genjutsu. Once he had her trapped, the fight was over. Using his shadow he made Kin bang her head on the wall behind her, knocking her unconscious and ending the fight. Once Shikamaru made it back to his team and Kin was taken to the infirmary, the screen started to shuffle through the remaining names again before stopping on the next competitors, and bringing a smirk to the faces of the Kumo team. So, I'm up next, huh? Said Karui as she watched her opponent, Yora's other teammate Misumi, jump down to the floor ready to fight. So sensei, what do you say? Don't hold back. It's time to send a message to Konoha that if they want Naruto back they'll have one hell of a fight on their hands, said Darui, smirking at their wide-eyed faces that soon turned into evil smirks at finally being allowed to go all out. Got it, said Karui before jumping over the railing and landing across from Misumi. He was dressed in a similar outfit to his teammates, only his seemed to be a combination of the both. He had the purple bodysuit that all of them wore, and the purple masks like Yoroi, but he had clear glasses like Kabuto. The third match, Misumi Tsurugi vs Karui, fighters ready? Said Hate as he received a nod from both of them. Then let the